Am I the asshole for being furious that my husband and his mother hid that she lost her pension to a scam and now expect me to financially support her? So my mother-in-law, mid-50s, has always been a bit much. She's a lifelong hypochondriac, constantly convinced she's dying, despite doctors telling her she's fine. Over the years, I've learned to smile and nod while she goes on about her spells and energies. But recently, things went off the rails. She started seeing a soothsayer who convinced her that her workplace was full of dark energy, draining her life force. She was advised to resign immediately and devote herself to healing. Against all logic, she quit her stable job and cashed out her pension. Oh no! Sometimes I look in the comments and it's full of dark energy too that drains my life force. Do I need to cash out now, guys? Turns out, a few months ago, she met another soothsayer who told her that her life force was being drained by bad energy and that only a cleansing ritual, for a fee, could save her. Long story short, she gave away nearly her entire pension and savings to this scam artist. Did not tell anyone while going through her cleansing. But here's the kicker. My husband knew. She told him, swore him to secrecy, and he agreed because she was embarrassed. Months ago, and he said nothing. He claims he didn't want to stress me out and that his mum was just going through something. Fast forward to now, she's broke, has no savings, no income, and is suddenly turning to us. Well, me, for help with groceries, medication, rent, everything. And when I found out? Only because she confessed when she had no money left. I absolutely lost it. I told my husband that it's insane that he kept this from me and that I feel like I've been blindsided into being responsible for someone else's mess. He says I'm being heartless and that it's not her fault. She was manipulated. But I say she's a grown adult who made a choice and hid it while expecting us to clean it up. So now I'm scrambling to keep our own household afloat and make sure that she is not starving, all because of a decision that I had zero say in. Am I the asshole? In the comments, Edliv says, not the asshole. Honestly, to me, this is divorce-worthy. I had the same thought straight away. Your husband committed financial infidelity and now expects you to pay for it. If I were in your place, I'd be contacting a lawyer and looking for a way to get out of this marriage ASAP. Otherwise, you'll have his mother take and take while you're breaking your back to support her. Fuck that. OP says, I'm really considering it, but I feel that they will say that I left because she needs support. Oh, OP, they'll blame you no matter what. So do what makes sense for you. OP says, true. Given the betrayal of trust, why should you care what they think? For your own family, simply tell them what you put in your post. You are not obligated to sacrifice your own financial stability to make up for someone else's poor choices. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Her stupid decisions are not your personal emergency, and I definitely advocate for talking to a lawyer and going through your best options here. This is definitely a situation where I advocate for a divorce. I don't care if I have no life experience in this area. I'm putting myself in her shoes, and I am having a panic attack thinking about this being dropped on me all of a sudden. Hell nah. She's 56 years old, she listens to this absolute idiot who gave her all this stupid advice and got her to cash out all her money, and she's like, yeah, cool. This is definitely such a good idea. I've worked all my life for this. I've supported families through it. I'm just going to give away my pension, and that's going to do me a world of good. And on top of that, your husband, who's supposed to put your needs above his mother's, prioritized her instead, showed that you were not important and that you couldn't be trusted with information like this. I'm sorry, but what? You can't trust me with your mum making a stupid decision? You won't even help your mum out and snap her out of it, and you don't even trust me to help you out with a situation like this. No, you're just gonna let her crash and burn, then you're gonna make her problem a me problem. Where's the man I married? Where did he go? Did he disappear? Hell no. She is not my problem, she's not our problem, and if you want to support her so bad through her stupid decisions, you go right ahead, but I'm not going to be there with you. This is your fault, this is her fault, and it's not going to be my problem. Honestly, there's no winning in this situation, OP, and if I were you, I'd get out of Dodge yesterday. This is so insanely stupid. And now, on to the update. Remember my mother-in-law who gave her pension to a soothsayer and quit her job? Yeah, it gets worse. I'm embarrassed and I honestly didn't want to update, but so many people reached out that I have to. If you read my previous post about my mother-in-law who handed over her pension to a soothsayer, claiming to cleanse her of bad energies, quit her job, and left us scrambling to support her, you'll know that I was already nearing my limit with my husband's family. Well, as I said in the comments that I needed to sort through my finances, because even though divorce was the unanimous answer that Reddit gave me, I needed to know if it was financially possible. Oh no, he's gone through the accounts and raided it behind her back. Wow, that's what I'm guessing is gonna happen, guys. I'm gonna be so surprised. Backstory. I had a car that I couldn't trade in because of the shortfall. My honest, loving husband suggested leasing it to his brother. I was wary, but he swore that it would be fine. We signed a contract, payments came in on time for a while, I got my new car, and life went on. At some point, before the pension thing, my dear husband, I'm gonna go damn husband in this one because I don't like him, decided that he wanted to take over the house finances, and like a fool, I let him. I slowly watched groceries and bills stop adding up, even when I knew that I gave him my portion. But things always worked themselves out, so I didn't question it, because in that house, asking questions meant I didn't trust him. Holy mother of God, how many red flags did you just ignore? Oh my God. This is insane. And now, while reconciling my statements, I realize the car hasn't had a single payment from his brother in months. Jesus. The payments were from damn husband the whole time, and the car's apparently been broken for 2 months. And guess who knew and never told me? Yup, husband. When I found out about the car situation, something in me just broke. Not in a dramatic, plate-smashing or screaming way, just quietly, like a balloon finally deflating. I didn't argue, I didn't cry, I just packed my bag for my son, ate mail, grabbed a few essentials, and went to my mother's house for the night. And before I left, I told my damn disgusting husband that he had the day to package his things. I don't care if it's dear sweet loving husband, that's not what he is to me. He's now moved out. He's gone to live with his mother, and I'm back in my house. I'm not sure how or what to feel about. I don't know if this was the right decision, if I'll regret this, if we'll ever sort this out. I don't know if this is me now. Single mum in need of a lawyer. I'm just numb. And maybe that's okay for now. Bonus info, he apologized for everything and say he will do better, but I stood by the separation and I know I made the right decision because when he left, he took some of my groceries because his mother ran out. Oh my God, what an asshole. He still doesn't get it. Lamau? My life is a film with poor casting. I can already see that Subway Surfer background because this is honestly ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. That's all. In the comments, Maggie Stardust says, "You made the right choice. This man would have sacrificed your families, you and your sons, finances to enable his relatives. Promising to do better when you've asked him to leave and then taking you and kiddos' food? Yeah, nah. This farce of a marriage is over. He'd set you all on fire to keep his mummy and his brother warm. I'm sorry you've had to discover this is who and how he is. But listen, how you feel now is only temporary, and it will pass. You and your son deserve better, and this man cannot provide that better. He's a liar and will cheat the family he created with you so his relatives never have to experience consequences. See a lawyer ASAP. You need to separate finances, everything. He is a lying liability." OP says, "It was sad to see it. I didn't even comment when he started packing it. I was just done. Good. Don't let him back in. He is beyond redemption. Yes, financial infidelity is just as bad as any other kind of fidelity. Unfortunately, you will get stuck with half of the debt in a divorce, but it'll be well worth it in the long run. If you don't divorce, his financial support for his family will sink you. Now he can support his relatives and live with his foolish mother. Don't be shocked when he immediately finds someone else to finance him and his family. This poor woman, and she's only barely scratched the surface of the financial devastation that this man has left for her. Sadly, it wouldn't surprise me if next update is that the husband had thousands of debt in credit, that someone opened credit cards in her name and/or her son's name, and/or that husband has been spending their savings/retirement fund/college fund in some way or another. Yeah, sounds like this marriage is done. I don't know if I could come back from that either. He literally took over the house finances so that he could skim off money to give his mother and berated her for not trusting him whenever she asked questions. I pray it's done. Oh my god, for my sanity, can it please be done as well? This is a goddamn plane crash, actually. Whoa, my brain. Me when I'm having a stroke because this story is destroying my brain. There's no way that this is the extent of the damage. There has to be more. There's genuinely no way it's just the car payment and it's just him giving some money to her. She needs to get on top of this so fast and find out the financial devastation he has caused in the background. Because if he was able to lie to her face to this degree and make her feel bad for it and say, oh, if you ask questions at all, that means you don't trust me. So you trust me, right, babe? I hate it. This is terrible, and I need another update, OP. Please, God, come back and tell us what else happened. I need the details. I need more. What else has he done? Please, God. Thank you for this story, though. I absolutely love it so far. Am I the asshole here for not rescheduling my wedding after my sister was widowed? I, 34 male, am supposed to get married next month. Now I'm not sure it's going to happen. My partner's sister, 35 female, was widowed last month. I've gotten a front row seat of how it has rocked my soon-to-be in-laws. Everyone has really tried going above and beyond for his sister, making sure she is as comfortable as possible. And I truly can't imagine, You probably would have to institutionalize me if something happened to my boy. My partner's mum came to him a few days ago and asked if he would consider postponing the wedding. She said they would cover all of the lost money, would help us replan, etc. And apparently his sister said there is no way she can attend the wedding, and his mum knew how important it was to him to have her there. So she just wanted to offer an alternative plan. I'm not very sentimental, but my partner is. Our wedding was planned for the 10-year anniversary of when we met. That's something that meant a lot to him, which makes it mean a lot to me too. I'm trying to be sympathetic, but I'm fucking raging. I can't help it. My emotions aren't allowing me to be objective. I know his mum came to him in good faith, but it just makes me so angry to think about this being put on his shoulders a month before our wedding. He was so excited, and now I'm worried that if we don't reschedule, he's just going to be in his head the whole time, feeling guilty and unable to fully enjoy himself. I know his sister is hurting, and I'm trying my absolute hardest not to piss off the family that is soon to be mine, one that's already mine in a lot of ways. But still, I am so mad. I'd appreciate some objective point of views. Edit, getting lots of she's and hers in the comments. I'm a man. Doesn't have much weight in the story, I just wanted to clear it up. In the comments, Me McCann says, you have a right to feel angry, but here's a thought. 1. Cancel your wedding and get the money back that you've already spent from his parents. 2. Go to the courthouse and get married privately on the day you planned. 3. Use the money that you get back for a really nice honeymoon. 4. After the honeymoon, when you return, start planning a reception. That way, your in-laws are satisfied with their situation. You guys got married on the day that you planned, and then everyone can come together at a later date to celebrate your wedding. And you have a fantastic adventure for your honeymoon. OP says, my fiancé is going to make a decision over the next coming days, and I'm going to support whatever he chooses. This would be super nice though. I would love 2 weeks far, far away from everyone in the world besides him. This sounds like something you should discuss with your partner, not random people on the internet. Until you do, you don't actually know how he feels. Whatever you decide together is the right decision for you as a couple. Just understand that there may be consequences with familial relationships depending on the choice you make. OP says, we've talked and he is torn. I'm trying to follow his lead because this impacts him more than me. But I'm just so frustrated. Never at him, but them for putting him in this position. By putting this weight on his shoulders, planning has been a lot of work, but it's exciting because we know what's coming. Now we either have to do it for a second time, rebooking everything without that same excitement, or we have a wedding where no matter how good my partner feels, there will be guilt and sadness thrown in too. It's unfair. I'm half inclined to agree to cancel it all and just elope. No distractions, just us. Celtic Musebook says, cancel, get the money back from the in-laws, elope to somewhere fantastic, throw a killer first anniversary party. OP replies, I'm open to this. I've always been indifferent to a big wedding. That's why I'm so focused on my husband's feeling throughout all of this. This is his baby. I just want to see him so happy. I'll talk to him about it. As long as he's satisfied, I am. And I guess there's an asshole part of me that's still frustrated with how long we spent planning only to have it thrown away. But that's something that I'm trying to work on. Being flexible isn't always my strong suit. Responding to a comment that says that he should have more sympathy for the in-laws, OP says, of course I have sympathy for them. I hate that any of this happened. Her husband was a good man. It's not about the expenses. I'm frustrated because my priority, my partner, is being put in a really shitty position. I'm more mad at the world than at his family. I just know how much this means to him. Like, that's my guy, my other half. I hate knowing that he has to make this decision. I hate that he's going to feel selfish and weird about going through with something that he's put his time, effort, and heart into. It all really blows. His mother is reliable, and I trust she would cover the costs if we cancelled. I love and trust his mum, truly, even if I am very angry right now. The expenses aren't my concern in this situation anyway. I think my frustration is clouding my judgment, and that I get frustrated at said frustration because we don't really have time to sit and process before we make big decisions, considering the wedding is next month. Your last paragraph is a good reminder. I know I might be coming across as callous here, but it's really all just care for him. Friends have joked in the past that I'm like if a chihuahua was a guard dog. I'm quite a bit shorter and lankier than my partner, but someone would still have to go through me to get to him. I love that. About eloping, OP says, my fiancé is going to make a decision over the next coming days, and I'm going to support whatever he chooses. This would be super though. I would love 2 weeks far, far away from everyone in the world besides him. Resentful is a very strong word, and not one that I would use in this situation. My partner knows about my anger and frustration towards the burden of this decision being placed on him because we have talked about it. It's not some kind of dirty secret that I'm keeping, or something that he took poorly. I included a lot of those comments because OP had a lot to say and a lot to add after the post, and I do think that it was very important that we get through the majority of those, because it shows that he has communicated properly with his partner. He has really dived deep into this one, and they have both done a lot of work deciding on what is the best course of action and how to have the most people be happy in this situation and not coming after you for not making a decision that they want for themselves. Like, if they were to go ahead with the wedding anyway, I'm sure that that would upset a lot of people. But they can always elope. They can always do a wedding for everyone in the future when all of the emotions have calmed down, when we have all had time to process the death of someone so close to us. I respect that. But if I were OP, and if I were OP's partner, I think that that sentiment of the 10-year anniversary being the day they get married, I really do think that is the time to do it, and it's more than okay to do it in private, have that honeymoon, and do the official one later. If it is that important to him, then I agree it has to be done. And now, on to the update. I'm a married man. I let my husband take the lead on making the decisions here, and I let him know that I would support him whatever he chose. After some discussion, we decided to cancel the wedding and elope instead. My husband said he wouldn't feel right gathering all of his family and our friends without his sister present, but it was still very important to him that we got married on the date that we first met. It was perfect. It was exactly the right choice. It was quiet and intimate, and us. There is nothing in the world that I love more than seeing his smile, and he was stuck in perpetual smile mode. I was so worried if we had the wedding, I would look over and see him looking anything less than thrilled, because it wasn't how he envisioned it without his sister there. I think the complete change in expectation made it easier for him to let go. Again, exactly the right choice. We're on cloud 9. In the lead-up, there was a lot of calling vendors, friends, and family to let them know that we were cancelling. It was very short notice, and we weren't rescheduling anything, so we lost all of our deposits. Our loved ones were really understanding of our decision, at least over the phone. We had very few people flying in, only 3 friends, and his mum agreed to cover their flights as well. God damn, she is generous. Finally, to address my anger, most of it was directed towards the universe. But I'll admit that I was mad at my mother-in-law. Discussions about our wedding and his sister's grief were ones we were already having. But still, a third party coming to him and making this request felt cruel in the moment. It felt like a guilt trip, like unnecessary pressure on my husband when he was already having to make these decisions anyway. We eventually made the choice we wanted to make, but he did tell me at one point he didn't want his mum to think that he was heartless if we had the wedding without his sister. Emotions were running high for everyone. I don't think his mum would ever think he is heartless. I know no one was out to get us. His mum was doing her best to make the day comfortable for everyone, and navigating that is basically impossible. Still, I'm not sorry for my anger, and maybe that still makes me the asshole, but I'll be the asshole who loves his husband and puts him first in every situation. In the comments, OP says, I feel so lucky. Peace was something that didn't exist for me for most of my life, particularly in my late teens and early 20s. Then he came along and changed everything. When asked if the in-laws know they got married, OP says, nope. We've been in a hotel suite having a little staycation all weekend, so neither of us have been on our phones much at all. My mind has just been on him. Damn it, Gravity says, I wonder if they ever talked to the sister-in-law about it. Everything seems to have turned out all right, but I still would never trust a message that came from a third party. I'd have wanted to hear it from her. Now I just imagine OP and the partner cancelling the wedding, turning their phones off, leaving the house, and sister-in-law is like, huh? I really looked forward to this. I honestly hope that sister-in-law finds out what happened from her mum, because that would be just perfection on the mum's meddling. What do you mean I convinced my son to cancel his wedding and elope without me over a misunderstanding? Oh, this is such a tough situation. I was invited to a friend's son's wedding a few months after I was widowed. I went. It was tough, but I was happy to see the nice young couple start their lives together. Interestingly, another widowed lady was there, and her widow intuition picked up on me immediately. She was very kind, and that helped a lot. I'm a Mage Fight Me says, I get the frustration and disappointment, but I think this was for the best. I can't blame the sister-in-law for not being up for a wedding when she has just lost her husband, but I can't blame OP's partner for not enjoying a wedding without his sister there, and with the grief hanging over everything, and I can't blame the mother-in-law for trying to find a solution that would appease everyone. I can't blame OP for being a bit frustrated. Making the choice to cancel and elope means they still get their moment without hurting anyone and potentially tainting their wedding day. Maybe in a year or two they will do a big anniversary party that will act as a reception, but maybe not. But at least they found a way to make it work for them. Yeah, at the end of the day, it has to work for the both of them first and foremost. And while people might be upset that they missed your wedding, It meant a lot more to OP and the partner that they have it done on their 10th wedding anniversary, and ultimately, what they want together is what is most important in this situation. That may upset everyone else that didn't get to attend the official wedding, but they should be able to understand given the circumstances. OP and OP's partner did the most respectful thing by cancelling their wedding, letting emotions lie, letting everyone process what they needed to do, and stepping off quietly to the sideline. I respect them so much for doing that, for taking the advice of everyone else on there, and I respect the mother for paying for all of that as well. That was a lot of money that she put up for the both of them that I guess she didn't have to do it, but she did anyway, and it just shows how much she cares for everyone in this situation that she is willing to do that. I don't know a lot of people that would be willing to do that. That is an insanely generous person, and I thank her for it. I think that OP approached this situation in the best way they could have. I feel like this was the best outcome. Thank you for the story, OP. That was truly something. Our next post is by user Test98125, and it's titled, "Am I overreacting at my son, 15 male, for grossing out my daughter, 11 female, on purpose?" Our son has recently been doing gross stuff to our daughter to get a rise out of her, and she really hates it. It started when she gagged when someone passed gas in a small room, and he thought that it was funny, and now he's periodically tried to fart in her face, hold the doggy bag up to her nose when walking the dog, and he huffed in her face in the morning without brushing his teeth, causing her to gag a lot. He thinks it's funny, but she really hates it and wants him to stop. He knows this, and I've told him this after the first 2 incidents, but he still did it again. He says, "I'm not hurting her, it's just a smell. It's funny, and she needs to get over it." In response, I told him, "Next time this happens, I'm gonna make you smell something you won't be able to handle, and you're not gonna get to stop smelling it just because you hate it or because it makes you feel queasy." He asked, "What could you make me smell that's so bad?" And I said, "You don't want to find out. You don't give her any warning when you do these things, so you aren't receiving one either. I'm a vet tech and have more than adequate means to follow through on this." He sort of rolled his eyes and said, "Whatever," but it did make him stop for a while. Until yesterday morning when he burped in her face again and laughed about it. I simply told him, "Alright, I'll be carrying out the punishment we'd discussed." I let my daughter take a mini vacation with my husband to get away from him in the meantime, to a local hotel and water park, while I prepared to administer his punishment. Just need a couple more dogs at work who need expressions. Oh god, that is disgusting. I know exactly what you mean. What is wrong with you? Oh my god. This is torture. After talking with others about it though, I just wonder if it's too harsh a punishment. My husband fully supports it, and so do 3 of my co-workers, but 2 of them say it's too harsh, and that a smell this bad is way disproportionate to burps and farts. You can say that again. I said that everyone has a different tolerance to these things though, and if he repeatedly violates his sisters, then he needs to realize what it's like to be on the flip side of this. I told my husband that I was having second thoughts and wondered if it was too harsh of a punishment, but he said, "It's not undeserved, and you have to follow through on your promise." Am I overreacting? In the comments, Summer Spring asks, "Draining anal glands?" You told him, he kept on. But make sure that it's not about retaliation, it's about doing as he is told, even when he thinks something is no big deal. Yes, siblings pick on each other. It should have been enough when his sister said stop, but he did not listen. It was more than enough when you, as his parent, told him to stop, but he did not listen. He doesn't set the rules in the house. You do. Once you give him a nice whiff right in his face, make sure that he gets an actual punishment for his hard-headed behavior. He needs to lose some privileges for a week or 2, and he absolutely needs to apologize to his sister. I'd make him do her chores for a week since he wants to give her so much negative attention. He can show her love by being helpful and give her positive attention by doing her chores. Robot Atomica says, "You pointed out the biggest issue. It should have been enough when his sister said stop." pranks and jokes that aren't explicitly violent are always written off as no big deal. But when a child grows up tying that to pleasure and joy and satisfaction, terrorizing and harassing and making another person miserable, and doing something again and again, even though the other person says no again and again, we're not doing them any favors by permitting that to continue, to let that compulsion keep building. Adolescents are impulsive. The job of parents is to help them learn how to control harmful or dangerous or antisocial impulses. This most definitely falls into that category. And I agree with you that being put in her shoes is fine, maybe even helpful. But what it will come down to is expressing why this is unacceptable, and coming down against this behavior the same way OP would an actual violent offense. Because it is a real slippery slope here and needs to be nipped in the bud now. Coffee Goblin says, follow through. He's willfully disobeying your instructions to respect his sister, and this is a pretty funny punishment. You're not hitting him, you are not verbally abusing him, you're giving him a taste of his own medicine, and you even told him that it would happen in advance. Pro tip, do it when he's not expecting it. Like from behind when he's eating, or by waking him up with it. That's a great way to make him understand how it makes her feel without giving him the time to psych himself into getting through it. At this point, you do have to follow through with it because you've said that you're going to do it and you've prepared him for it. If you pull out now, that's not going to teach him the lesson you want to. That would just be showing him that his actions don't have consequences. You've been great up until this point, and as vile and disgusting as what you're going to do to him is, it's the right play, but always explain the why. If a kid doesn't understand the why, you're not going to get through to them the message that you're trying to communicate. I respect it, honestly, and I really want to see the outcome of this one. And now, on to the update. Thanks to all who commented. It was pretty clear that I had to follow through or I wouldn't be respected, and that the punishment was fitting. Most people seem to agree, except for the radical modern people for whom the concept of punishment seems totally alien to them as a concept. I talked to my daughter and husband on the phone one more time too, and she said for sure I needed to follow through. There was a pug with a particularly funky gland expression at work that day too, so perhaps Providence was showing its agreement as well. I want to die reading that. Some people were telling me to wake him up with it or stink up his room, but I didn't want the house to smell for ages, so I just told my son to come to the backyard with me for his punishment, and that if he at any point resisted or refused, I'd have Dad come home to assist and the punishment would be 20 times longer. I made clear that was literal. He said fine, let's get this over with, and followed me out. I showed him the jar. It had 12 dogs' expressions, and told him that I was going to pop the lid and hold it to his nose, and he was going to take 3 sniffs, and that's what he did. It got a bigger reaction than even I expected. After the first sniff, his eyes widened, and he was gagging, and he was holding his tummy afterwards, saying, "Oh my god, that is hideous." I told him, it's just a smell, it's not harming you, right? Shouldn't I be able to do this as often as I want if I think it's funny, just like you do to your sister? And he said, okay, I learned my lesson, I'll stop, and turned to go back inside, but I said, oh no, don't you remember what I said would happen if you did that to your sister again? You weren't going to get to stop smelling it just because you hated it, just like she wasn't. He looked back at me as if hoping I was joking, and I said, think about how your sister felt knowing you were going to do this again and make her feel sick and being powerless to stop it. I then gave him a choice. He could put his nose over the rim for 3 minutes straight and get it over with right now, or he could come back outside with me every hour on the dot for another 2 sniffs until I decided the lesson had been learned. He agonized over the choice and said that there was no way he could do it for 3 minutes, so chose the latter. Once per hour that day, we went back outside, and it never seemed to get any easier for him. But after only the 4th time, I said I think he's learned his lesson because I could see that it was really getting to him. I didn't want anything overly harsh, but something very unpleasant, which I think was achieved. I told him I think that he's learned why these sorts of pranks are not funny to people, and that if I ever heard of it happening again, he would be spending a good long while with his nose in a jar like this, or worse. So I think he got the message. Daughter and husband came home from their mini vacation later that night, and there have been no incidents since. I think he got the message loud and clear. In the comments, glad it worked, but why didn't he just hold his breath? That's what I'd do. And OP replies, he started trying to during the hourly follow-ups, but I had made it clear that the sniffs had to be obvious and audible, and that jar wasn't leaving his nose until I had heard them. Another commenter says, I can't help but think that this teaches him that this kind of behavior is alright. I'm all for discipline. But you did to him what he was doing to his sister, to teach him that behavior is never okay. You see what I'm getting at? Clearly it's okay in some situations, seeing as you did it. You just introduced a bigger bully. You should also talk to him more about the situation, and explain to him that this isn't really about farting and burping, and more about boundaries and personal space. OP replies, just like if someone locks someone in their basement, we could never do something like that, like locking a person in a cell, because it's teaching them that that behavior is okay. You kind of got them with that one. Hey man, if you just lock them in a cell, they're just going to realize that society is just one bigger bully above them. They'll never change. Mary Clarity says, also animal care person here, when you said you were going to teach him about smells, I immediately thought, like impacted anal glands. Y'all, if you have never dealt with it, it's just pretty indescribable. And it's actually not even the worst, but it's very reliably horrid. The second OP said they were a vet tech, I knew where it was going. Anal glands are foul. That last comment at the end is wild. No, if you do to someone what they do to someone else, especially if said thing will not cause harm, that's teaching them a lesson called empathy. Like, we all get told the golden rule in school, but apparently he was unable to grasp what it meant without a hands-on lesson. There's always that one kid who is a biter and will not get it through their head why they need to stop until someone bites them back. I went through a biting phase at almost 3 years old. My mother made me bite myself. When I didn't do it as hard as I had done to my sibling, she said, do it as hard as you bit sibling. I bit myself really hard, and I immediately yelped that it hurt. My mum explained that it hurt other people too. I never bit or hit anyone after that. That is how you develop empathy. Yeah, look, there's always going to be some brainless commenters. They're going to have some brainless opinions on this brainless website. Maybe they need to learn some empathy as well. I really do think that giving him a taste of his own medicine and repeating that lesson until it got through his thick head was the right way to go about this one. She wasn't being overly cruel. She was explaining exactly why she was doing what she was doing, and she kept repeating what outcome she wanted as a result of it until she saw that he had meaningfully changed and trusted that he had meaningfully changed for the better. I really don't understand these no-punishment Puritans. How is anyone going to develop empathy without walking a mile in others' shoes? How are they going to know, if not experiencing it themselves? I respect OP for what they've done for this one, as much as it disgusts me. I really do think when you have no other options, when talking it out doesn't work, you do have to go to these places, and you do have to get it done, as much as it sucks. Because again, genuinely, how was he going to learn? What alternative is there? Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. I know it would have been hard. I know it would have been absolutely disgusting to go through all of that, but I think you taught him a very valuable lesson today. Our next post doesn't have an update yet, but it's by user Potential Wasabi, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to pay my friend after my ferret attacked her $900 dress? So I, 29 female, have a pet ferret Noodles. He's super friendly and curious, and I let him free roam when I'm home. My friend Kara, 28 female, fake name, came over last weekend for wine night with a few of our other friends. She showed up wearing this very extra silk dress, said that she had a date after, and didn't have time to change. I told her maybe not the best outfit for a casual girls' night, but whatever. Well, at one point, she gets up to go to the kitchen and Noodles, being the menace that he is, bolts towards her and jumps up. His little claws snag the back of her dress and it tears maybe a half-inch slit. She screams, freaks out, and runs into the bathroom sobbing. The whole vibe died instantly. I felt bad, but also like, you wore a $900 dress to drink boxed wine on my carpet with a literal ferret present? Anyways, she sends me a Venmo request later that night for $920. Apparently the dress is from some vintage designer and the repair requires specialized fabric sourcing. I declined the request and she sent it again and I declined again. Now she's telling everyone that I'm irresponsible and letting my rodent ruin people's things. She even told our group chat that I let Noodles drink wine. He just sniffed the glass one time. My other friends are split. Some say that I should pay at least something, and others say that Kara is being dramatic. Then today, her lawyer dad sent me a letter saying that I'm liable for damages. I literally laughed out loud. Like, what judge is going to look at me and say, yes, pay $900 because your ferret got excited about silk? So am I the asshole, or is this entire thing completely unhinged? In the comments, Strawberry Mum asks, Info. Did she know that Noodles was a free-roaming ferret before she came over? I.e., has she been over before and seen him free-roaming? OP replies, yes, we've been friends for a decade now. She's met Noodles several times and knows the vibe. It wasn't a surprise that Noodles was free-roaming. Then definitely not the asshole. She knew he'd be free-roaming, she took that chance, and it's all on her. Dogs are free-roaming too. If the dog attacked the friend, would you say the friend is the asshole? The ferret didn't attack the friend, so that's a huge straw man right there. If it was an attack, the dress would be a lot more ripped than just a tiny tear. If someone came to my house wearing something delicate, knowing that I have a pet that likes to play, and then got upset that my pet tried to play, then yeah, they're the asshole. Why couldn't friend bring the dress along but wear something sensible, and then just change before leaving? I Heart Words asks, Info. You're obviously judging her for wearing an expensive dress to be in your home. Did you warn people that your pet is a menace? Your words? And that they should dress accordingly? OP replies, she has known Noodles since I got him, and has even pet sit for me before. If fancy dress was the vibe and it was that kind of hangout, I would have put Noodles up, but it was literally a wine night in casual clothes, except for Kara. We've done this many times before with Noodles out and about, but sans the expensive dresses, and had no issues. Right? There were no issues in the past, so why should she have assumed that she needed separate clothes in order to stop by before her date? You just admitted that if people were dressed nicely, you would have put your pet away. Why didn't you just put your pet away when you saw what she was wearing, or tell her that it would be better if she didn't stay? By the way, some people also don't want their casual clothes ripped by an animal's claws. You're the asshole. You should not have a pet free roaming in your home when people are over if it is not trained to not jump on people. Yeah, it's weird that your friend would wear a super expensive dress to a casual hang, but you're the irresponsible one here for not having better control of your pet. $900 is ridiculous for repairing a tear in a dress, but since your pet was the one that damaged it, then you're responsible for paying to fix it. You at the very least could try and come to a compromise with her on this. But like, at what point is the person wearing the thing responsible for wearing something so expensive? I would not expect someone to enter my home with something so expensive on. Is it okay for someone to wear a $30,000 watch out and then expect their friend to pay for it if, say, a dog jumped up to say hi and scratched it? $900 is a shit ton of money for some people. I would expect the friend to at most ask for like $100 to help pay for fixing it. I'm gonna middle ground this one and say that this is an everyone sucks here situation, because I don't think that the dress owner is completely innocent in this situation. I think that once OP saw that she was wearing an expensive dress, she should have put the ferret away and would have avoided this happening in the first place. Especially if you know that a free-roaming ferret can and will jump on your clothes and can and potentially will damage clothes. That's on you. And you have to pay when a ferret damages other people's clothes and they need money for it. Sorry, but that's your pet. That's your responsibility. At the same time, What the hell was she doing wearing such an expensive dress to your house when she knows the ferret is there? She does not get off scot-free for this one, knowing what the ferret is like. I don't understand why she wouldn't just take it off, put it somewhere safe to make sure that the dress is safe. If it's so expensive that it needs a $900 repair, that dress should have insurance. She took a risk. She took a gamble. It didn't pay off for her. Her immediately Venmoing you and not talking about it, and then getting her dad to send you a legal threat? That's pretty insane. That's a nuclear option. I feel like you both could have talked about this more, but she has decided to just take it up to 1,000. This is a ridiculous situation, and I'm gonna stand by my everyone sucks here judgment. Am I the asshole for asking my husband not to go on a trip with a woman who openly flirts with him and feeling betrayed when he did anyway? Hi everyone, I'm 32 female and I've been married to my husband, let's call him Joe, for 8 years, together for 10. In all that time, we've always prioritized each other's emotional well-being. If something hurt one of us, we didn't do it again, no matter what. We valued having a happy spouse more than being right, and because of this, my love and trust for him grew immensely. I was certain he would never do anything that would break my heart. But here I am, heartbroken and disappointed. Joe owns a company, and we work together. Financially, we're in a great place. Recently, through Joe's father, we got the chance to bid for a major government contract. A massive opportunity. Due to its scale, several companies are teaming up, and one key company involved, without whom the deal won't happen, is led by a very attractive, flirty woman. She's the CEO and has openly flirted with Joe in front of me. We've both noticed her behavior, and in order to avoid misunderstandings or conflict, we decided to work on the bid together. Things were okay until one meeting where, during a break, she touched Joe's arm and said something like, "If I had a husband like you, I'd never leave his side. You're someone that every woman wants, but sometimes even that's not enough. Someone else might steal your mind." I snapped and responded, "I'm not following him, he just never leaves my side." She brushed it off as a joke, but I know it wasn't. I saw the look in her eyes, and women just know. Later, I talked to Joe about it, and he admitted that she was crossing a line and that he was uncomfortable, but didn't react strongly to avoid jeopardizing the deal. I wasn't thrilled, but I tried to understand. Then today, I found out that I was excluded from a 3-day site visit for the bid, a trip requested by that woman. Only 5 people are going, and Joe is one of them. When I heard, I told him that I was extremely uncomfortable with this and asked him not to go. I begged, actually. I said the deal wasn't worth this. We're financially stable and don't need this contract. But he went anyway. Even after everything I said, he left without me. Something broke in me. I trusted him with my whole heart. I truly believed he would never choose anything over my peace of mind. Now I feel like he did. He left me behind, and it hurts so deeply that part of me doesn't even care anymore. If he comes back, if he ends up with that woman, I feel numb. A part of me says, come on, 10 amazing years, don't throw it all away. But another part wants to take off my wedding ring, send him a photo, and file for divorce. So am I the asshole for asking him not to go? And how do I even begin to deal with these emotions? In the comments, Munch Munch Cookie says, sounds like she purposely excluded you and he fell for it. And OP says, yes, she did, and he knows it. He still went anyway. Random Reddit 9791 asks, why didn't he request that you go since you're both on the team? Did he even ask, or did he just go? Do you think he'll actually cheat on you? I'm not OP, but it sounds like hubby is open to cheating. Tired Anger says, not the asshole. She disrespects your relationship blatantly, and he allows it for the deal and proceeded to ignore your discomfort. Instead of addressing your insecurities and anxiety, he still went. I'd be livid at such disrespect towards my partner, especially with them right there. He's a douche for not addressing your anxieties and reassuring you better. I've got BPD. It's incredibly hard for me to feel secure when I'm in a scenario like that. I feel secure with my partner, knowing that they'd put old girl in her place politely, yet with an established venom. He didn't address your concerns in the way that a loving and secure partner would, and that's a problem. OP replies, actually, he knows how I feel, and I know he never does anything to make me feel otherwise, but after this, I don't know. I feel like he chose money over me. Adnip replies, it's a 3-day trip. Even if you weren't invited to any business meetings or site visits, you could still have tagged along, just shown up and said the two of you are a team on this, or even skipped day business and been with your husband everywhere else. Why wasn't that an option? Even if he is squeaky clean and this is 100% all business for him, that's a bad look when he knew that you were uncomfortable with him making it a solo trip. Not the asshole here. Yeah, I don't think you're the asshole either. I completely get why you feel betrayed in this instance. Any person with self-respect and a brain would recognize that she continuously openly flirts with him, especially to your face, and they'd realize maybe this is not appropriate. Especially when he doesn't have to go on the trip, you know? You begged him not to go. You're financially stable, you don't need this contract, you think the deal's not worth it, but he's disregarding you. It doesn't sound like there was a lot of communication from his end, if I'm to believe what you're saying. So really the onus is on him here. He's making a decision that does not regard your feelings at all. You have made that clear, but he has done it anyway. In this instance, you do have to ask yourself, why is he doing this? Does he respect me? Does he respect our relationship? And from what you're writing, it doesn't really sound like he does. And now, onto the update. I did something that I never thought I'd do. I drove to the place where my husband and his team were staying. Yes, I know, desperate, and honestly not like me at all, but jealousy and love can make people do wild things. It was only a 3-hour drive. On the way, Joe kept calling and texting, but I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say, and I didn't want to say something that I'd regret later. When I arrived at the hotel, I didn't let him know. Inspired by some of your comments suggesting hiring a private investigator, I wanted to see things for myself. I just needed to know if something was happening. I wanted to witness it with my own eyes. When I got there, the group of 5 was sitting together in the lounge. They seemed to be having a good time, Joe included, but importantly, Joe was sitting far from her, so there was no chance of physical contact. He was engaging in the conversation, but still texting me non-stop. From afar, he looked like he was chatting with someone, but it was actually me. Please answer me. Don't be mad. Talk to me. I had planned to just observe, but I couldn't take it. There was a cafe near the hotel, so I went there and messaged Joe to meet me. He showed up smiling and hugged me tightly. I was supposed to be strong, to demand answers, but the moment he held me, I started crying like an idiot. He comforted me for a while. Then I finally asked the question that I should have asked earlier, and many of you pointed out, why didn't he bring me along? Not as a team member, but as his wife. He said it was because I was already very upset at how she excluded me, and he thought bringing me might escalate the tension. According to him, he's been handling her flirty behavior by keeping it light and not letting it cross any lines. Joe believes this woman isn't even after him. She's competing with me. He said some people feed off of making others uncomfortable, and that she is one of them. She chose you as a rival, he said. It's not about me, it's about her wanting to disturb you to feel powerful. That sounds a bit off to me, honestly. She's a successful CEO. She's already powerful. Still, he insisted that he's been keeping his distance and not giving her any encouragement. He said he didn't think this trip would affect me this deeply, and reminded me that over 10 years, I've seen women hit on him before, but this is the first time someone has gotten under my skin like this. He also opened up about how important this contract is to him. He doesn't want to disappoint his father, and he feels like we might never get another opportunity like this. He asked me to trust him. We went back to the hotel together and had breakfast. To be honest, I'm not as angry as I was the day before. He didn't even mention divorce during our conversation, And I'm still upset, yes, but the heartbreak that I felt has eased. I don't know if it's normal, but the sharp pain has been replaced by a strange calm. Tonight we'll have dinner together as a group. In the comments, No Reserve says, "Stay there till the end. It'll rub her nose in it without uttering a word to her." Fluffy Smiles says, "No, be nice as a pie. Friendly, even. Show her that her efforts have no meaning. She has no agency. Her competitiveness has no effect. It'll drive the other woman mad and also show OP to be a secure woman in a loving and supportive relationship. Everything, in other words, she lacks herself. This all the way. Be very cordial and kind to her. Smile and take ease knowing that it'll get to her. Don't show her any sign of your anger. Be content and focus on the tasks/subjects brought up at dinner. You are the better person here. Show it to everyone passively." And now onto the latest update, titled Dinner, Doubts and Perspective. Hi again everyone. I wanted to answer a few recurring questions from the comments and also share how the dinner went. First of all, I don't live in the US and English is not my first language. That's why I write my updates in my native language and then use ChatGPT to translate them so they're easier to understand. When I respond to comments directly, I type in English myself, so please excuse any grammar mistakes. As for Joe and me, we've been together for 10 years and have worked together for almost 8 of those. Like any couple, we've had ups and downs, but we've managed to come through without major scars. Joe has gone on many business trips before, often with other women present, and I've never had a problem with that. I'm not someone who panics just because my husband is away on a work trip. We've faced similar situations before and handled them without much issue because we trust each other. But this time was different. As Joe said, maybe it hit harder because this woman was going after me, not him. She was directly trying to get under my skin, and she succeeded. I let my emotions spiral, and things could have gone to a much worse place, but I'm relieved they didn't. Joe told me that while my doubts and reactions did upset him a little, he understands why I felt the way that I did and doesn't blame me. He said, if I were in your place, I'd feel terrible too, but I never thought that you would believe that I'd betray you like that. He's right, I was unfair to him on that front, but he also told me that he knows how much I've endured for him and that he'll work on making sure that I never feel that way again, and I believe him. Now, about dinner, it actually went pretty well overall. Nobody questioned my presence, and Joe told them that he invited me. The woman did make a few passive-aggressive comments though, mostly disguised as jokes, and at one point, she said something like, if she weren't always in her husband's shadow, she would be doing so much more. Later, she said that I was being wasted in this company and could thrive at a bigger firm. I didn't let it get to me. I smiled and simply said, you seem to have a great eye for people's potential. Some of the others in the group, who I already knew, actually suggested that I participate in the final day of work. But I declined. I didn't want it to look like I was trying to compete with her or prove anything. I told them, I'm just here for Joe, and for the fun parts. If we win this bid, we'll have to work with this woman for another 5 years, and that worries me. But I also know that we won't be seeing her that often. This contract means a lot to Joe, so I guess I'll have to learn how to live with it. In the comments, that's awesome. Next time she calls you for a meeting, you go instead of him. Say, we all agreed with your assessment that I have more potential, so I'll be point on this contract from now on. There's nothing you need Joe for that I can't handle on his behalf, right? And OP says, she'll see more of me. Next Dragonfruit says, if you get this contract, you need to take over this file, not your husband. If she made a comment about your talent, then take over the contract. It will minimize any reason for your husband and her to communicate. And you should be firm on that. You can always update him, but ultimately, you should be the point person moving forward and for the next 5 years. Your husband doesn't get to say that he was disappointed in your reaction when he fueled the situation. Again, as I said yesterday, never once in the 10 years did you ever have a reaction this hard, and the day you did, your husband completely dismissed you and left for his trip instead of asking you to come along. So again, the gaslighting on his part is interesting. Very interesting situation, and I look forward to seeing what else happens in the future with this one. I do hope that OP takes the advice and takes the lead on these projects. But yeah, you never know. All in all, I think OP's handled this one pretty well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how else this situation escalates. Thank you for the story, OP. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My 24 female, boyfriend 31 male, is acting weird after a disagreement. Am I being overly paranoid, or are these concerns actually legit? Hey Reddit, throwaway as my boyfriend has my main, half edited as I gave up. I'm reaching out because I'm in a bit of a weird spot and could use some advice. So me, 24 female, and my boyfriend, 31 male, have been together for 3 years. And up until recently, everything was cruising along just fine. But then, we had this argument the other night over something so stupid, I can't even believe I'm writing this. We had this ugly old ornament. It wasn't anything fancy, just this piece that meant nothing to me. I accidentally broke it, and I thought, no biggie, accidents happen, you know? Well, he didn't see it that way. He flipped, like full-on explosion of anger that I never saw coming. It was so out of character, and the whole thing ended with him storming out, leaving me stranded there like, what the hell just happened? I don't think it meant anything to him. It's like a $3 duck that we got as a gift. Not from anyone important, just a friend who's still alive and still friends with him. Now, here's where it gets weirder. Since then, he's been hanging out with friends more, or so he says. The issue with this is I don't know these friends. He's being super vague about who they are and where they hang out. Feels like he's intentionally keeping me out of that loop. I don't know any names apart from Peter and apparently Bill. Fake names, but similar. All this drama has me feeling disconnected and worried. I love the guy, but the thought of him doing something shady has never crossed my mind until now. I want to believe this argument was a one-off, but his ongoing behavior is making it hard to trust that explanation. So Reddit, am I being overly paranoid, or are these concerns actually legit? How should I tackle this mess? Your advice and insights would be amazing right now. In the comments, Cute Lil Frog says, your concerns are definitely legit. Blowing up at you over something so trivial is something to be concerned about. Has he ever gotten upset at you like this before? OP says, no, it's completely out of character for him. Thanks for the input. Organic Patient says, extremely concerning. I wish I could tell you exactly what to do, but I can't. But I can validate your feelings at least. Yeah, that's super sketchy. You need to watch out for your own safety. If you start feeling afraid, get the hell out. I also hope your boyfriend apologizes to you for this. OP says, thank you. I needed that validation. We live together, and everything has been normal at home so far, but I'll be leaving for a friend's house the second I feel like I'm in serious danger. Don't worry. That is just such a weird situation, like, genuinely, why did he flip out about that one? To me, is this another situation where, like, they have a brain tumor or something has happened in their brain that has suddenly made them switch personality and gone crazy? I don't know, but it is very suspicious that he's hanging out with friends that OP has, like, not really ever met, and he's being very defensive about it. I'm thinking he's cheating, and these friends don't really exist, and that present that OP smashed was maybe connected to a cheater or something, and he's really pissed off about that. Like, God, how could you destroy my affair partner's prized possession? What's wrong with you? I don't know. I'm just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks. Let's get to the bottom of this one. And now, onto the update. Hey Reddit, it's been a bit. This post will be a mess, not edited. My original post didn't get much, if any, attention, but I thought I'd share an update for anyone who cared. We broke up, and yes, the duck played a part in it. Short story, funnily enough, he was using the duck to cheat. That's not a joke, I'm 100% serious. He would put the duck on the window ledge to our house, and when his affair partner saw it, she knew that it was all clear. They, to my knowledge, had no way of contacting each other so as not to get caught by me or her husband, so when I broke the ornament, he no longer had a way to contact her. Longer story, I took a lot of your advice and I used it to apologize to him. It didn't go well. He blew up again, spewing the same bullshit as before. I have to apologize, by the way. I didn't think I was then, and I don't entirely think I am now, but when some of you told me that he was an abusive asshole, I should have listened. He ended up throwing a lot of our other shit around the place and screaming about how I had ruined everything. It was mostly my stuff, including my new laptop and cracking my phone. I did get hit by a few of the things that he threw, but it was mostly books and clothes, as well as a jewelry box that thankfully isn't broken. I was in shock, maybe? I don't know. I ended up grabbing my phone when he stormed into another room, and I got out of there and called a friend to pick me up. Got picked up, got some ice cream, and sent a few of my gym's friends around there to get my shit the next day. I offered to go with, don't worry, but they refused to let me. Some of my stuff is ruined, but I can get new stuff. So yeah, there's my update. Another update, titled Small Stuff, Cheating Boyfriend, The Affair Partner, and More. Hey, I can't do any more updates as it's a limited of one, but here's some things that I saw coming up a lot. I doubt it'll be seen, but here's some more info in case someone checks. Who was his affair partner? I don't know. Did you tell his affair partner's husband? No, I don't know who she is. I know she's married based on comments he made at the time and later over text, one of which asked me to not go to her husband with this. No names were mentioned. Are you going to press charges? No, I know some of you are going to yell at me for this, but I'm not pressing charges. How did you know about the duck? He told me at the time, along with telling my friends later when they went to get my stuff, and more over text. Latest update. My cheating ex-boyfriend wants to meet up and talk. What should I do? Hi Reddit. About 2 months ago, I caught my now ex-boyfriend cheating on me after a fight we had over a broken ornament. He got violent, throwing stuff both around our house and at me, all the while screaming at me. A few gym friends went and got my stuff while I stayed elsewhere. I had him blocked on everything that I could think of, but he made a new account to contact me. He wants to meet up in a public space by his request and talk. I'm just sick of all of this. Can someone give me advice? In the comments, Miss Janet Snakehole says, okay, look, this dude sucks, but I'm really stuck on the part that the boyfriend had absolutely no way to find or contact the affair partner except for putting a duck in the window. Like the duck is broken, so he'll somehow never be able to find her without it? Makes you wonder how the affair even started. Like she was walking by and saw the duck in the window and then knocked on the door when only he was home and they had an instant spark of chemistry over their love of duck ornaments? Sounds like their plan wasn't all it was quacked up to be. No, I think it's a case of missing reasons or missing reasons. You got some truth out of him, but of course he's not going to tell you the whole story. And him saying, oh, please don't tell her husband, please. There's got to be some way to find out how they're talking. Oh, yeah, only a duck is the only way that we talk. Shut up. I hope there's more updates to this one in the future, but that's all we have for now. I really do think he's lying. He definitely has some way to contact her, because yeah, I get that the duck thing could work, maybe back in the 1800s, who knows? But he's lying, he's admitted to cheating, why do you even want to hang out with him anymore? That would be stupid, OP. Please don't do that. Our next post is by user Disturbia Hope, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for refusing to repay my ex-husband for the college tuition he paid for years ago? So for some background, my ex-husband and I ended things over 20 years ago. When our son was 2, he stepped out. At the time, I was a stay-at-home mum and going to nursing school full-time. He was paying for my schooling. After he left, I asked him if he would keep paying for my school so I could finish with no debt. He agreed, saying that it was the least he could do. A few months after that, he got his affair partner pregnant. Once she got pregnant, she demanded he stopped paying for my schooling. It was 1/5 of their income, and she said that money needed to go towards their new baby. He refused and kept paying for the remaining year and a half that I had left. Over the years, I continued my education, and now I'm a nurse practitioner. I do well for myself, and I never remarried. On to the problem. My son called me and told me that he and his wife are expecting. I was ecstatic. I asked if I could come over sometime during the weekend and give them some things. His favorite stuffy as a child, a check, and some other small sentimental things. He said yes, so I went over earlier today. I came by and gave him everything, including a check for a few $1,000s. For baby stuff, co-pays, the nursery, or anything else they may want. My son and his wife thanked me and told me the money would be very helpful. My ex-husband and his wife came over a little while later. They surprised them with dinner and didn't know that I would be there and saw the check on the counter. My ex's wife asked about it and said, "Oh, well, I wanted to help out where I could. Everything's so expensive nowadays." I was really just trying to be polite, but I don't think this is any of her business. This woman had the audacity to say, "Well, maybe since you have all this money now, you can finally pay us back all that money you took when you went to college." I was dumbfounded. My ex has literally never brought up me paying him back. He's always said that it was the least he could do for both me and our son. My ex has done very well for himself in his career. I didn't see how or why they would need the money, so I asked them, "Do you guys need the money or something?" And my ex said no, and she said, "Of course not. It's about the principal." I told her that I will absolutely not be paying them back for college tuition from over 20 years ago, especially when she ended up in our marital home while I was living in a small apartment, barely making ends meet for years after I initially finished school. I have never been bitter or mean. I've always been civil since our kids are siblings, but my blood was boiling. I left shortly after that. According to my son, this has been a point of contention in their marriage. She's brought it up a few times over the years in front of him, and she's insisting to him that he needs to convince me to finally pay back what they are owed. The biggest issue is now the whole damn family is involved. I got calls from 3 separate family members saying that I need to get over myself and just pay it back. So am I the asshole here? In the comments, Survival Nut says, "Tell her it was the adultery tax, or that her husband was ensuring that his son would have a good life with either parent. Not the asshole." OP replies, "This is exactly what my ex said. He wanted to make sure that we could both afford things for our son. It was in a way a good investment for him because we went half on basically every activity he was in, his first car, and his college tuition. We definitely couldn't have done that if I only had a high school education." So, to reiterate that for her, okay, I'll pay the student loans back and we can recalculate all the child support, car, uni fees, etc. as though I was never educated. So that would mean that I pay you about $30,000 and in return, you'd be up for, let's see, $10,000 a year for 13 years, plus half a car, $20,000, plus half of tuition, $60,000, plus health insurance at $1,000 a year times 17, let's call it $20,000, so let's call it even at about $230,000. Sound good? I'll take my $30,000 off the balance and you can just pay me $200,000 and we'll call it even. And when she balks, say, "Your husband wanted your son to be raised well, with a fair and safe house. If I had not graduated, this is what it would have cost your husband. He's business-minded and made wise financial decisions for himself as well as his son. Without paying for my fees, it would have cost him significantly more for significantly longer, and his son's life would have had significantly more struggle. How he stayed married to you all this time is the true mystery. What did you say your qualification is in? Because surely you can math this too." And walk away. To the bitter end says, "Not the asshole. I'm not laughing at your situation, I'm laughing at the clown who your ex is now stuck with. It sounds like she's really hung up on the fact that you were with your ex before she was, and this is a really weird expression of that. Basically staking claim to what she wants to be hers, even if it's not. My stepmom was this way. Treated me differently because I came from the woman before her. It's this weird, insane jealousy, spite thing, and frankly, it's toxic. It's also really, really unhealthy for her to bring other family members into this. Ultimately, this is an issue between you and your ex, and the other woman is making a mess of it. Don't pay it back, no matter who comes to you. Die on this hill. I'm with that one as well. She sounds like a spiteful, disgusting asshole of a woman. And yeah, how the hell has he stayed married to her if she is just going to discount all of the money and time you have invested into your son? What a short-sighted freak of a woman to, still hold this against you decades later. What is her problem? I would take the suggestions and advice of the comments and throw it back in her face. Like, yes, I know that living a happy life and doing your own thing is the best punishment, but in this case, I don't think she's going to see that. She has this idea in her head. Some people need to be clapped back into reality, and I really hope you do that, OP. And now, on to the update. So first, I want to clarify some things. Yes, it was our marital home. We bought it after getting married. I didn't fight so hard for it in the divorce for a few reasons, mostly that she was borderline harassing me about how they needed the house for their growing family. I also didn't want to deal with a longer and more drawn-out divorce, and it would have been if I fought for the house. Yes, he bought me out for the house. However, it really wasn't much, as it was late 2007. Most of it went towards credit card debt anyway. Another thing, when he was paying for my schooling, we were still legally married. The divorce didn't finalize until after I graduated. There was no child support until after I graduated. There was never any alimony. I did live in the house while I was in school, and they lived in an apartment. He paid all those bills, including hers, after she got pregnant, so his finances were tight at the time. The family that called weren't my relatives. They were my ex's and his wife's relatives. I thought they were family, but they've since been blocked. On to the updates. I got off work yesterday to find a few missed calls from my son. When I called him back, he tells me that his stepmom has now asked for the money from the check since it was almost the same amount that they spent on my college. She said that it was obvious that I'd never pay my debts and that I would just give him, my son, more money anyways. I'm stunned. I'm pissed off. I don't know what has possessed her to think to ask my son for money intended for his family. I tell my son to ignore her and that I'll handle it. So next I call my ex. It goes straight to voicemail. I try again a few minutes later and it's the same thing. So I reluctantly call my ex's wife and she answers immediately. I tell her the three of us, my ex, her and me, need to meet first thing in the morning to discuss the debt. I'm thinking this needs to happen in person with all three of us there so there's no confusion, and she agrees. This morning we met at a coffee shop near my ex's work. As soon as they sit down, I say, "So, ex's wife, want to tell me why you think it's appropriate to ask my son for money?" My ex looks at her and says, "You asked our son for money?" She starts on about how she was only asking for the money that they are owed, and she didn't ask for any more that was on the check. Then she says, "For years we struggled due to paying for your school. For years we couldn't afford a new car, a new house, or a nanny. My kids had to share a room." She goes on about her struggles, and I started to tune her out because I keep thinking there's no way she is this deluded. It may have been inappropriate, but I laughed. I literally took out thousands in credit card debt to keep me and my son afloat, while my at-the-time husband was shacking up with her and paying her bills. My ex looks at her and says, "What the hell, ex's wife?" I added, "It's laughable you think you were owed anything from while you were a mistress. We were married when he paid for my schooling. It's quite literally none of your business how he chose to spend money. You had zero entitlement to his money until you said, 'I do,' and from what I recall, that wasn't until years after the divorce was even finalized. Do not contact me or my son about this money again. You will never see a dime from me." She rolls her eyes and gets up to leave. My ex tells her he's going to stay for a minute. After she's gone, he asks why I didn't just call him and tell him about what was going on, said he would have handled it and that I didn't have to go this far. I say I did call him, twice actually, and this is how he figured out that she had blocked my number from his phone. So those of you who said that she is just very insecure, you were absolutely correct. I tell him that she involved his sister, cousin, and his sister-in-law, that I got several calls and texts from them telling me that I should just pay back my debt finally. I tell him that she involved the family and then asked our son for money intended for his baby. She's crossed too many lines. He apologizes and says that he'll make sure that she doesn't bother me about it again. We both leave after that. My son told me he blocked her number and doesn't want her at his house until she apologizes. That's pretty much it for now. In the comments, Dizzy Dumpling says, "Wow, your ex's wife needs a reality check. Maybe she should start a GoFundMe for her struggles instead of asking for money from your son." And OP replies, "What's weird about this is that my ex makes significantly more than I do. They're anything but struggling financially. This isn't over yet. Gear up, girl, the crazy's about to be dialed up to 100. OP says, "God, I hope not." She's a very insecure person. She is jealous of you, she took your man, he is trash, she can have him, but you're thriving and she's jealous because you did what you had to do and are thriving. Her being his mistress didn't destroy you, so she's just holding on to this money thing. Good for you. Remember to always be petty. It's good for the soul. Glad you had that chat, and I hope this annoyance is over for you and congrats on becoming a grandma. OP replies, "Always be petty, it's good for the soul." And that's a lesson I hope to repeat here, guys. Always be petty, and always be a bit snarky, because it's hilarious. You'll see some of my petty, snarky, stupid comments on the podcast very soon. But yeah, coming back to this story, oh my god, I can't believe this woman. I hope he divorces her. I hope he realizes, oh shit, I made a huge mistake. This is a lunatic that I've procreated with and had kids with, and now I'm so deep in the trench that I have to, do something to change this situation. But honestly, in a way, he might enjoy this. He got with her for a reason. He might secretly, deep down, just enjoy the antics. He is probably bored, and he's like, hell yeah, finally some good drama in my life. Round 2, baby, let's do it again. I've got 2 women fighting over me. Even though OP's not fighting over him at all. OP's just fighting to protect herself and her son. Much like anyone that stares out their window every day because they like to keep tabs on the local community and the funny stuff that happens as people walk past their window. This is him. This is his window. And he's just there being like, man, this is absolute cinema. I'm going to middle fence this and I'm going to be, what? What do you mean, my wife? Why would you do something so crazy? You asked my son for money? Man, I really got to do something about this. This is just insane. Because from what I'm reading here, doesn't really sound like he's doing all that much to rein in his wife. He apologized. He said he'll make sure she doesn't bother me about it again, and we both leave after that. It doesn't seem like the chat that he had with OP after his new wife had left them alone for a bit amounted to all that much, besides him saying, look, I'm going to get on top of this. That could be taken many ways. I'm going to take it as, he's trying to squash the beef in private, but he's also been enjoying this situation, okay? Maybe I'm insane for saying that, but I really want to be validated when the next update hits. I would really love to see that, just for the pure entertainment value of it, I guess. Am I the asshole for losing my mind because my wife keeps lying about passing gas? I can't believe I'm even writing this right now. The answer is so obvious to me, but I feel like I'm being manipulated, and I don't see why. I, 36 male, have been with my wife C, 35 female, for a decade. Everything is great. She's my best friend, we have fun together, and she's my favorite person to spend time with. But as of late, something weird has been up. Look, 10 years in, you get pretty comfortable with each other. You've seen each other at your worst and really been through it. Which means, yes, we have passed gas from both ends and used the bathroom in front of each other, which is no big deal. For the past year, my wife has been farting more than usual. Again, I don't care. It's not a huge problem, but these are some pretty vile stinkers. And this might seem funny, but we're in a small one-bedroom space that's poorly ventilated. So you can imagine that there's a limit to what one can take before one politely says, "Babe, I love you, but you gotta go to the bathroom." Here's the weird part. Without fail, she will deny that it is her every single time. She'll look at me weirdly and question what I mean. At first, I thought she was being cheeky, so I let it go. But when it started happening every single day, I got worried. I asked her if there was something to be worried about. We're nearing 40, you never know. And she just looked at me weirdly and said with the utmost emphasis and assertion that she did not know what I meant. The next time it happened, I asked her if she smelt it and she said no, and I looked at her wide-eyed because there was no way she couldn't smell it. My eyes were burning from the smell, and she's telling me she can't even smell it? I even confronted her and she said that it's probably a gas leak or a sulfur leak or something, which, okay, fair, but we had the place inspected and nothing out of the ordinary turned up. I tried to confront her again, and her answer really, really made me reel. She said, and I quote, "Could be a demon if it smells like rotten eggs." It could be a demon. That's funny. I'm sorry? Is it really easier to try to convince me that our house is haunted than to just admit that she's the one doing it? We live alone. I can hear it. But she has no reaction, and she firmly denies it every time. We recently had a small spat over it, where I asked her why she was choosing this hill to die on and lie for, and she looked at me like I'd given her the finger. She's gone silent, and I'm now fully losing my mind trying to figure out if I'm the asshole for calling her out, or if I'm just going insane. So am I the asshole? Edit, clarification. Someone said that I should include the fact that I can hear the passing of gas many times. Not always, but most of the time. Her not farting in front of guests is also what is pushing my buttons. Is it real? Is she faking it? Is she just farting around me and gaslighting me constantly for a year? Let's say this is the case. Why? What's the end goal? Those suggesting a medical checkup, I've pushed for it. She has playfully declined, and the more I pushed, the firmer she got about dropping it, saying that I was taking the joke too far. We've both had COVID twice. As mentioned before, we have passed gas previously in front of each other before sans embarrassment. It is this sudden increase in frequency and the alleged lying that has me puzzled. In the comments, Such a Little Joiner asks, is this the only strange behavior that she's exhibiting? Also, prior to this, has she ever complained repeatedly about your farts or any other bodily function? Lastly, how is your sex life? Is she still interested in sex? Is this some sort of trying to gross you out to deter sex thing? Either she's having some sort of neurological issue or a mental health issue, or she's getting revenge for something. If you had to guess, which would it be? OP replies, she's not the vengeful type. Yes, she has a quirky sense of humor, but carrying a joke on for a year with so much dedication? I don't think she could commit. Yes, she has complained before, and I'm respectful of her boundaries 90% of the time. Sometimes it slips out, but we laugh it off. Sex life was fine, but this definitely hasn't helped. Because I'm so in my head, I'm a bit hesitant in initiating. When she blasts off her next gaseous portion, light some incense sticks and wave them around while dancing through the house. When she asks you why you're acting crazy, give her an innocent face and say, "What are you talking about?" OP replies, "What's weird is I did light a candle and try to spray some air freshener. It only happened a handful of times, but she straight up asked if I was trying to get her in the mood. That's what's weird. How can she keep it up so long that the actual fact of the matter is not a part of her reality?" So, you're saying you're being gaslit? Come on, it was right there. I'll be honest, this is definitely one of the more weird stories that I don't even know what's going on. The only thing that is just crackpot crazy that would make sense is that potentially she has something wrong with her brain. Could be a brain tumor, could be anything really. Because if she's not the vengeful type, and if she doesn't commit to the bit, for like a year on things, as OP has said, I don't know what the answer would be. Feels like she is gaslighting you, literally and figuratively. Don't know how to feel about that one, but if you're asking if you're the asshole, I don't think you're the asshole here. I don't know what her problem is. And now, on to the update. So, this blew up, and even though I used a throwaway, I think there were enough identifying factors. She found the post. It was the third post she saw when she opened Reddit. I think I'll have to pause the replies to go have a more serious sit-down. With her consent, I'll update you all further. Wow, I am at a loss for words. So after she saw the post, she was understandably pissed off. She said that I violated her trust over something trivial and untrue. I asked her to be real with me and sincerely tell me if she truly did not know what was up, and she said that she could neither feel, smell, nor hear herself. She then, in all seriousness, asked me if I was pulling some shit, which I vehemently denied. Then I brought up the medical concerns, which she tried to brush away. I offered to go in with her, and she said that I was welcome to have a doctor mess my head up, but she wasn't going to do the same. When I insisted, she got really mad and called me controlling and gaslighting. We're currently not speaking to each other. I've tried, but she will not budge. She said, and I quote, "Why don't you go cry about it to your little incel group?" I have no idea how to proceed. What do you even do in a situation like this? I feel like she's lost her mind. That's the only update that we have on this situation right now, and it's got me scratching my head, that's for sure. I really do believe that she's gaslighting this man and taking him on a ride, a mental health journey of sorts. I don't like her, and I'm unsure if that relationship is going to stay solid. You've lasted 10 years. But can you truly stay with someone that is treating you like this? Like you're crazy and they're not doing something when it's very clear they're doing something? Like what if you recorded her? You caught her in the act of her farting. You have evidence of it and she still says to you, "You're making shit up. I don't believe you. That's not real." That's the level of gaslighting that I feel like is going on right now. And truly, good luck with that one, OP. I would love to know how this one ends. Our next post is by user GeekGirl1987, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not inviting one girl to my daughter's birthday party? I, 35 female, have an 8-year-old daughter who is turning 9 next month. She goes to a small school, and there are only 6 girls in her year. For her birthday, she asked for a small sleepover party with just the girls from her class, which I'm happy to host at mine. Here's the issue. One of the girls in her year has been relentlessly bullying her for the past 6 months. She's flushed one of my daughter's toys down the toilet, regularly yells at her during break time, kicked her in the head, yes really, and most recently, threatened to kill her pets. My daughter has come home in tears multiple times, and I've spoken to the school, but not much has changed. Given all of this, I told my daughter that she absolutely doesn't have to invite this girl to her birthday. I don't want to teach her that politeness and keeping the peace should come at the cost of her own mental health and safety. I was bullied at school, and I couldn't escape it for the same reasons. If this were an adult friendship, I'd be telling her to cut the toxicity out of her life, and I don't think a birthday party should be an exception. Here's where I might be the arsehole. My ex-husband, her dad, thinks we should invite the girl because it's the right thing to do, and that we should be teaching her to include everyone. He says it's mean to invite all the other girls, but exclude just one, and that we're teaching our daughter to be cold and unkind. I get that on the surface, excluding one kid might seem harsh, but does that still apply when the kid has made your child's life miserable? I don't want to be petty, but I also don't think my daughter should have to play host to someone who actively bullies her, just to avoid social awkwardness. So Reddit, am I the asshole for not wanting to invite one girl to my daughter's party? In the comments, Upset Fail says, "No, screw that. Kid is a bully, and your daughter should not have to put up with it on her birthday, and I wouldn't want that girl in my house." Sounds like a good time for the bully to realize that actions have consequences. When you torture another kid relentlessly, no. You're not invited to their birthday party. It's called boundaries and making good choices. If the bully girl's mum wants to take up with you why her kid wasn't invited, let it be that conversation that is needed to happen. So, when she grows up and has a boyfriend that smacks her, should she be kind and invite him to dinner? Avoid mean people and abusers. OP replies, "That's exactly my fear. I was brought up in a world where I was taught to not make a fuss. Don't wash laundry in public, be polite to strangers. I want my daughter to grow up knowing that there are boundaries and her mental health is not optional. Thank you." Somebody has to stand up for your daughter, and that someone needs to be you, her mother. The fact that you would even entertain inviting a mean, nasty, dangerous little girl who has relentlessly bullied and physically assaulted your daughter into your home so that your daughter can now feel uncomfortable and unsafe in her own house is outrageous. Oh, and your ex is an absolute idiot. OP replies, "Hi. There's a long history of gaslighting and control between my ex and I second guess myself a lot when it comes to our co-parenting. He negotiates for a living, so he can be quite compelling. I'll provide an update, but this has given me the reassurance I need that I am right and I won't be coerced." There were a lot more comments by OP. There is so much more backstory that we can get into in this one, but I really feel like these comments that I've chosen encapsulate how OP is feeling and why she is feeling that way. No normal parent, no sane individual says, "Yeah, look, I know my baby girl has been harassed and assaulted relentlessly by this other little girl, but come on, have we ever stopped to take a moment to think about where the other little girl is coming from and how she feels in all of this? Forget the victim. What about the perpetrator? She might feel upset if she's excluded. We can't have her feeling that way. Imagine how awkward it is." No normal person says that. Only manipulative, narcissistic, disgusting people spout such rhetoric as that. He's not a good person. As we're seeing from OP's comments, he's a dangerous and manipulative individual. Thank you for coming to the internet to get a sanity check for this one, because you were very much not in the wrong in this situation. But just look how easy it is to genuinely be gaslit in situations like this, to see that your reality, your read of a very abnormal situation that you obviously want to protect your daughter in, can really be messed with by people like her ex-husband. I don't know, something about that just does not sit well with me. And now, on to the update. Not inviting the bully to my daughter's party and feeling empowered AF. Well, as a first-time poster and long-time fan of this forum, that escalated quickly. I had to mute my notifications. I genuinely did not expect my original post to blow up the way that it did. I thought maybe a handful of people might respond, but wow. The comments had me giggling, welling up, fist-pumping, and more importantly, standing my ground. I read every single take, and I have to say, you showed up. The solidarity, the theories, no, I didn't know if he's sleeping with her mum, the sheer volume of support, better than therapy. No shade to therapists. The themes and perspectives shared were powerful. I feel like I'm not crazy, and I've been listening to the wrong voices for too long. Here's the update that you all deserve. No. I will not be inviting the bully to my daughter's party. The collective hive mind gave me the nerve and clarity to say, actually, no, we're not doing that, to my ex-husband today. I'm protecting my girl, full stop. No more second guessing, no more, maybe I'm overreacting, no more guilt, just a clear, calm mama bear doing what's right. Being a parent is hard. Co-parenting with a man who has a history of belittling my voice is harder. But this thread gave me strength that I didn't know I had. I won't forget it. I promise to update you all when my co-parent rears his asshole face again. I'm sure it won't be too long. From the bottom of my permanently scared I'm doing the wrong thing, little mum heart, thank you. Love from a very empowered mum who knows that she did the right thing. In the comments, Wed Penny Dreadful says, co-parenting with a man who has a history of belittling my voice. He's basically the bully's co-conspirator at this point. And don't forget, when my co-parent rears his asshole face again, I'm sure it won't be long, sounds like the young bully is the least of the problems. Your ex-husband sounds like a moron. I'm glad you've chosen to ignore him. Unreal to me that he would want your daughter to feel so stressed on a day that's supposed to be hers, just to, what, be kind? Had me wondering what his reaction would have been if you had invited the girl and if he was just trying to be contrarian or something. Either way, I'm glad your kid has you, because it sounds like a curse to have him. Absolutely unfortunate to have someone so demeaning and disgusting around you like this, stuck to you for 18 years that you can't particularly get rid of because you have a child with them. And that's no shade on having a child at all, it's just unfortunate when people like this show their true colors and there's not really much you can do about it. I'm so glad that OP stood up for herself in this situation though. To me it really did seem like he was being contrarian just for the sake of causing chaos and being contrarian. That really sucks to have to deal with, but I trust OP is always going to put her daughter first and always going to do right by her, unlike said asshole co-parent. Thank you for the story, OP. Our next post is by user AdventurousDog5299, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for yelling at a 19-year-old and asking for him to be fired? I, 37 male, and my husband, 39 male, have been together for 11 years. My husband owns a small bookshop and recently has hired a boy to help him. This lad, I'll call him Joe, is gay, and while my husband and I very obviously have no issue with this, Joe seems to do things a lot differently to us. For context, both me and my husband are Irish immigrants to London. We grew up 20 minutes away from each other and went to the same, very Catholic school. We aren't exactly flamboyant or outwardly gay, and don't exactly do PDA since that's how we were raised. On my lunch break from work, I like to visit my husband, bringing him records that I think he might like, and his coffee. Recently, however, Joe has started making comments. It started small with him saying things about queer joy and about how he loves gay couples, which we did not mind at all. In all fairness, it is a fairly scary world for queer people right now, and I understand seeing a happy married gay couple means a lot for a kid. But then he started getting a little too comfortable for my liking. He started asking things like, "Who's the top?" and calling us the F slur jokingly. I think it's entirely inappropriate to be making those comments to his boss, but my husband told me to let it go. Joe calls us the F slur a lot, which I had brought up a few times, telling him calmly to not do that, but when he continued, I learnt to let go despite my distaste for it, since it didn't seem to bother my husband too much, but last Wednesday, I lost it. I was up by the counter when Joe came in. He immediately started blathering on about how F-wordy we are, and while my husband chuckled awkwardly, I did not. Joe noticed this and said that I was a stick in the mud and repressed. I was trying to keep my cool until he called me a Fenian F-word. Oh no, you can't be doing that, brother. Oh, and I lost it. For anyone who doesn't know, the term Fenian isn't exactly a slur or anything, but it isn't exactly nice either. Me and my husband jokingly call each other Fenians or Paddies from time to time if we have something particularly Irish, and I've never exactly viewed it as a very offensive word to me, but something about this English boy made me snap. I asked him if he thought that that was an appropriate thing to say to his boss's partner, and started shouting, telling him he was way out of play, and if he wants to keep his job, he should buck up. I left to cool down a bit, and 30 minutes later got a call from my husband berating me, saying that Joe was crying and that he's just a kid. I do feel bad since he's only young, but I still think he needed to be knocked down a step or two. Am I the asshole? Edit. I see a lot of people making comments about the nature of the relationship between Joe and my husband. My husband has asked Joe to stop on my behalf before, but this isn't something that really bothers my husband. And to be fair, it's his workplace, not mine. In the comments, EJ says, "Not the asshole. The kid is 19 and is old enough to know that saying harmful remarks in front of, let alone to address your boss, is not the way to go. Should you have yelled? Maybe not, but I can't say that I would have done any better in your position. Honestly, apologize to your husband for the scene that you caused. Mention that as long as the kid works there, you won't be going to the bookshop for favors or otherwise, as he makes you uncomfortable, and after today, you are sure the kid would be uncomfortable as well. Let him know if you're willing to offer the kid an apology. I wouldn't, but maybe you're a bigger person than I am. And let him know that you don't want one from the kid, as you find his behavior and language appalling and don't want anything from him. Apologizing to this kid for what? He knowingly called OP names after being told not to. Apologizing will only make this idiot young man think that he's the victim, as he clearly has never been held accountable for anything. Saying sorry would just make him think that he did nothing wrong. He's not some clueless kid. He knew what he was saying and kept pushing it anyway. Being young isn't an excuse to be disrespectful, especially at work. Honestly, OP held back more than most people would've. I don't want to draw a conclusion about what Joe's speech would mean in London, but where I live, the F word implies a specific type of gay man, and it's highly offensive. I don't want to assume that words have the same meanings everywhere, but to me, he's really speaking out of line. To anyone, much less his boss and his partner. I hope he can get his act together, but I understand why you would want to be through with him. Not the asshole. OP replies, for me personally, it was more so the Fenian comment that sent me over the edge than the F ones, and from my experience, it's essentially an all-encompassing word over here and back home in Ireland. I could be reading too much into it, but it sounds sorta like Joe resents these two apparently quiet and bookish Irishmen not being the loud and proud older queer role models that he would like to have. OP replies, to be honest, I do think that's a part of it. He seemed disappointed when he came in on the first day, knowing that it's a queer bookshop and we didn't have a gay romance section. He has since added one without my husband's consent. Honestly, fair enough. I completely get where you're coming from in this instance. You should absolutely set and maintain those boundaries, especially when he's saying things that he knows are inflammatory. It doesn't matter if it's, the same group as he belongs to. If someone has told you, your words make me uncomfortable, you really need to stop doing that, it's inappropriate, you'd think that person would listen. But apparently not. Apparently Joe has something wrong with him where he doesn't understand that you don't want to hear that it's not appropriate, and that he really needs to, rein himself in. I don't know why your husband is not really supporting you in this one, and I'd really like to know why. And now, onto the update. Joe is my husband's son. I won't go too much into the details for both my and their privacy, but I had a major fight with my husband about why he was being so lenient with him and why he didn't have my back in this. We were shouting back and forth until he shouted something about blood being thicker than water. I shouted back about him being just some boy, and he stopped suddenly. Then he told me. Joe is from an ex-girlfriend of his who's now unable to take care of him, so my husband picked up. He's been paying child support for years. We each have our own separate bank account, so I didn't even notice. I'm contemplating separation and divorce. Someone I've known for 25 years became a stranger in 10 seconds. I physically got sick thinking back on those sexual remarks that he made to his father. My husband always went white as a ghost when he said those kinds of things, and that was possibly the only thing that he actually gave out to him for, but it makes me feel sick all the same. In the comments, Chainblade59 says, "The update is absolutely insane. I'm sorry that you got hit with such an overwhelming piece of information. No perfect way to navigate finding out something life-changing like that. Especially not the asshole now. I wish you the best of luck moving forward after finding out that he was lying for so long. And yes, hiding that information is absolutely lying. You have a husband problem. My co-workers and I can casually throw around the word DIKE back and forth at each other, and it doesn't matter. But I would never use that language around elder lesbians. I never had to deal with the negative effects of that word being used against me. The only real reason that my peers and I can so casually joke about it now is largely thanks to their generation being the ones who pushed back and loudly fought against hate speech. I consider it the highest form of disrespect to point that language in their direction. It's like pointing at a war-torn veteran with a toy gun and thinking that it's funny to joke about shooting them. Not the asshole. Kid's gotta learn one way or another, and gentle warnings aren't getting through to him. It's time that he learns that Pride Month aesthetics aren't what won us our rights. It's the quiet bookshop owners who survived years of pointed abuse directed at their sexuality and lived to provide a small corner where kids like him can feel safe. That update hit me like a truck. I just don't see how OP could remain in this marriage after years of deception. And Joe is not blameless in this either. He's more than old enough to know that what he's saying is completely inappropriate in a work setting, not just because he's saying it to his own father. Agreed. I just read another story where a woman was deceived by her husband of 10 years when she thought the child they took in was his cousin's child, when in reality it was her husband's child. I mean, years and years of blatant lies and disrespect. How can you come back from that? You can't. Yeah, I don't think that you can come back from that. That is genuinely one of the worst things you can do, to hide that child for such a long time from your husband of such a long time. I don't have the words to communicate the disgust I feel at a betrayal of this magnitude. All I can say is that I hope OP gets out of there, because what foundation do you have left in this relationship? I really do feel like the trust is gone. That was not the man that you married, and it seems as though the entire marriage was built on a lie. I wish OP all the best. I hope we get more updates on this one and things end a little bit more amicably, and I hope that he leaves. But I guess time will tell with this one. Thank you for your story, OP. I hope you're alright. My roommate sent me a condescending checklist and then lost her mind when I stood up for myself. I, female 22, live with a roommate, female 27, who frankly barely cleans. I'm the one who's constantly wiping counters, taking out the trash, doing dishes, cleaning up after her dog when she doesn't, all while working full-time and trying to keep the peace. I don't nitpick, I don't complain every time I clean something up. I just try to do my part, and sometimes hers, so the place stays livable. But the one time she finally decides to clean, and by clean, I mean wipe the stove and toss out some trash, she texts me this long message while I'm at work. Not to have a conversation, but to give me a passive-aggressive list of reminders about wiping the stove after I use it, putting my drinks away, emptying the dishwasher before she needs it, and sticking to some decor-only counter rule that she mentioned once forever ago like it was a binding contract. She even made a weird point to say that she cleaned out oil and asparagus in the trash, like that was some noble act that needed public acknowledgement. The message was condescending, and it honestly caught me off guard. I told her that I got the message, and while I understood being overwhelmed, the delivery was unnecessary. I reminded her that I've been pulling my weight and cleaning up after her and her dogs more than she probably realizes. I said if we're going to start keeping tabs, I'll just stop cleaning up her messes too. I also said her burnout isn't mine to carry, that we both live here, and I shouldn't have to walk on eggshells or be guilt-tripped just because I'm in the same space. She came back defensive, accusing me of overreacting, saying she was just asking me to pick up after myself, and called me a little girl for having feelings about how she talked to me. Then we ended up fighting in person, where she kept gaslighting me, telling me that I was delusional and twisting everything I said. I snapped and called her a bitch. I'm not proud of it. That part crossed the line, and I owned it. I sent her a respectful apology for the name-calling. I told her that I shouldn't have said that, but I stood by the boundary that I was setting. I let her know that I wasn't going to keep going in circles, and that all I wanted was for us to live respectfully and decently. Nothing more. Her response, "You messed up real bad. You're gonna want to bite your tongue next time, little girl. You extremely crossed the line beyond my boundaries. Keep your apology and stick it up your ass, you delusional biatch. Don't stop going to therapy either." Oh, goddamn. All right. I see where we stand. So, that's where we are now. I guess I struck a nerve. I've been trying to be the adult, do my share, and not make everything a thing. But the one time I speak up and set a boundary, I'm suddenly the problem? She acts like I'm a monster for reacting to her disrespect when all I've been doing is trying to live peacefully in a space that we both pay for. I'm tired of walking on eggshells around people who can dish it but lose their minds when it's handed back to them. I'm not perfect, but I've been fair. I've tried, and now I'm just done. Thanks for letting me get that out. In the comments, Fish Obsession says, I had a roommate like yours. I tried cleaning after her and not cleaning after. Doesn't matter. She never changed. I ended up kicking her out of my house. I lost a good friend all because she wouldn't take responsibility for cleaning her messes and breaking everything in my house. Some people never change, and it's best to get out. OP says, she's been like this since we moved in, so I realized quickly that there's no compromising with her. But I also love a clean space, so I do my part as much as I can. I'm just blindsided by the way that she reacted and the words that she used. I totally understand. I just want to point out that if she's that hostile over basic accountability on both sides, then I doubt that y'all will find common ground. Perhaps finding other living arrangements would benefit you both. Every time she makes a mess and leaves, take a picture and send it to her. Pick up after yourself. This, if she wants to be petty, get pettier. And either do this or stay in silence until your lease is up and you can move elsewhere. The roommate is just as insulting and name-calling as OP, but OP is the only one apologizing. I am fairly well on your side for this one because you didn't actually do anything to warrant that level of a response from her. That was nasty. That was way below the belt. That was grabbing your nuts and ripping them off, OP. I don't know what crawled up her ass, died and multiplied, but there is something seriously wrong with her head, that's for sure. I really think that you either go nuclear pettiness or you completely disengage and stop talking to her. I myself really want to see you going nuclear petty mode though. It's what she deserves. And it's what I think everyone here wants to see you doing. I want to see this getting messy and I want some righteous revenge. You would probably be an asshole for doing it, but I'm going to say you would be justified. And I'm giving you a justified pass to do it because I love the drama. And now, on to the update. Hey everyone. First off, thank you so much for the love and support on my last post. I didn't expect to get so much attention, and honestly, reading your comments really helped me feel less alone. Life has been chaotic, and I wanted to give an update on where things stand. A couple of days after the fight with my roommate, where she disrespected me after I apologized, I slowly started moving my stuff back into my room. One of those things was my Snapware Pyrex set from Costco. I had originally let her use it, but it's mine, and I always intended to take it with me when I moved. Anyway, I found one of them in the fridge with some soggy chicken that had clearly been sitting there for days. It looked gross, so I tossed it. When she got home and realized I threw away her food, she got super mad and started loudly talking shit about me on the phone to whoever she was talking to. I ignored it and just went to bed. The next morning, while I was showering and getting ready, she starts yelling at me asking where the trash bags are. I asked which ones, because I had bought the last pack and there was no way that we had finished them. She starts gaslighting me, saying that they were hers from the shop, whatever that means. I was too tired for the drama, so I just gave her the trash bags and told her not to use my stuff anymore. She flipped and said that I was unbearable to live with, that I should just leave, and that she wanted me gone. So I said, you know what? Fine. I'll leave. Later that day, I went to the leasing office to explain the situation. They gave us 3 options. 1, we both transfer to separate units. 2, we break the lease early. Or 3, I drop my name from the lease, pay a fee, and she shows proof, pay stubs, that she can afford rent on her own. Later that night, she texted me asking, do you want to leave or do you want me to? I said I will leave. I told the leasing office and asked them to follow up with her for the pay stubs so that we could move forward. That same day, I went to tour an apartment that I had been eyeing. It was the exact unit I wanted, and I applied immediately. Fast forward to today, I got approved. I'm moving in tomorrow. But here is where it gets messy again. A few days ago, I asked the leasing office if they'd received her pay stubs. They said no, even though they'd asked her 3 times, and she kept saying that she would email them. She never did. So today, I texted her again, letting her know that I'm moving out and that the leasing office still needs her pay stubs. She responds, "I can't." I asked, "What do you mean you can't?" She says she can't send them or she can't afford it, which she never expressed that she couldn't afford it. I honestly still don't know what she meant. I reminded her that this was the option that she agreed to, and if she wanted to stay, this was what needed to happen. I told her again, "I'm moving out. If you want to stay here, then that's on you." She then says, "Let's just break the lease then." I told her I can't afford that, which is why we agreed that I would just leave and she would stay. She responds, "I don't care about ruining my credit." I left her undelivered after that. Then 30 minutes later she goes, "I guess I'll have to leave then too." I honestly don't know if she's just being petty, playing games, or genuinely doesn't understand the situation, but tomorrow I'm going back to the leasing office to sort it out once and for all. I feel stuck and frustrated, but I'm also ready to get out of this toxic situation. Wish me luck. Any advice is welcome. Thanks again to everyone who's been following this journey. It means more than you know. In the comments, New Boy again says, "She isn't your problem anymore. Stop interacting with her. It's nothing but bad for your own mood." Sounds like until the roommate does the pay stub thing, then OP will still be on the lease, so definitely still her problem. I'm confused. It sounds like you picked option 3 where you pay a fee to drop your name from the lease. Why do you care if she provides her pay stubs? Not your problem. Let the leasing company chase her, because that is their problem. If being able to drop your name from the lease is contingent upon her showing proof, then why are you paying a fee? In any case, stop engaging with her. Move forward on your own. You are not in this together. I don't think the office will allow OP to drop her name without proof the roommate can afford the rent on her own. This was my first thought reading the options. And you know what? It's ended on a very messy note, not one that I thought that this would end on, and I hope OP is okay in this situation. That does not sound like a fun way to leave that living space, because it does not sound like she has her ass backed up. She didn't respond to anyone here, clarifying whether or not her name was still on the lease, so that's fun. Love that for her. It's still messy, and I'm still here for it. I don't really know what to say in this one, besides the fact that that roommate really sucks, and I feel terrible that OP was stuck with someone like that. But yeah, sounds like you just need to start ignoring her because she's not your problem anymore. Thanks for the story, OP, and good luck. Am I overreacting for threatening to take my sister to court after her toddler destroyed my $2,000 gaming setup because she said that I should have baby-proofed my apartment? Hi Reddit, I'm female 25, and I'm honestly at my breaking point with this one. I need outside perspective because my entire family is acting like I'm mustached German man for standing my ground. So I, 25 female, am a student software developer and a pretty serious PC gamer in my free time. I live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment that I've spent years making cozy and functional. I saved up a long time to build my dream PC setup. Triple monitors, custom mechanical keyboard, ergonomic chair, the works. Altogether, my rig is worth a bit over $2,000, and I take care of it like it's a damn child. Last weekend, my older sister, 30 female, asked if she could crash at my place for one night because her apartment was being fumigated and her husband was out of town. She has a 3-year-old son, Max, who's, let's say, spirited. I love him, but he's a little chaos goblin. I hesitated, but she swore that she would keep an eye on him and that it would be just for one night. They show up Saturday afternoon, and immediately it's clear that she wasn't kidding about Max being a handful. Within 10 minutes of arriving, he had pulled 4 books off my shelf, thrown my houseplants on the floor, and spilled juice on my area rug. I tried to stay chill because he's 3. I get it. But I asked my sister politely to please keep him out of my office where my PC setup is. She rolled her eyes and goes, "Ugh, he's just exploring. He's curious. It's normal." But she closes the office door anyway. Cut to Sunday morning, I wake up to screaming. Max had apparently woken up before his mum, managed to open the office door, and decided that my setup was his new jungle gym. He pulled down one of my monitors, cracking the screen. He stuck crackers into the PC tower's ventilation slots, I am not kidding, yanked out my keyboard's keycaps, and had colored on my chair with permanent marker. The cherry on top? He poured apple juice into the tower. Into it. When I tell you I went silent, I mean dead silent. My sister comes in, sees the damage, and just says, "Oh no," in this incredibly flat tone, like someone had knocked over a cup of coffee. I start freaking out, and she has the audacity to say, "Ugh, you should have baby-proofed the room if it was that important to you." I lost it. I told her that 1, she knew he wasn't supposed to be in there, 2, this is my space, not a damn daycare, and 3, baby-proofing a $2,000 gaming setup is not a standard requirement for adults living alone. She told me to calm down and said that he's just a kid and stuff is replaceable. I told her she could replace it then. She said she didn't have the money right now, but maybe in a few months she could give me a few $100. I told her that wasn't acceptable and that she needed to take full responsibility. She left in a huff, and now my whole family is blowing up my phone. My mum says I'm being materialistic and should understand that my nephew didn't mean it. My dad said that I should have locked the door if it was that important. My brother actually said, "Why do you even need 3 monitors anyway? That's kind of overkill." I've filed a claim with my insurance, but there's no guarantee that it will be covered since it was technically guest damage. I also told her that if she does not pay up, I'll take her to court for what happened. Now I'm getting texts from my sister demanding an apology for blaming her kid for being curious. I told her that I'd drop it if she covered the cost of repairs and replacements, or at least met me halfway, and she blocked me. So, am I overreacting if I take my sister to court over this? In the comments, Sirocco Dream says, "Not overreacting. That kid's a menace, and parents are on the hook financially for whatever their dumb kids do. Your relationship with your family has already taken a hit, so I understand why you're concerned about souring it even further. Stop trying to text your family for a moment. Before heading to small claims court, collect up your evidence. Purchase receipts for the damaged items, photographs of the damage, and screenshot downloads of what replacement costs from various online retailers, because what you paid originally might not be enough with a new trade war going on. Include the texts showing that your sister's refusing to take responsibility for her child's damages, and your parents and brothers blaming you for allowing her child to trash your stuff. To go above and beyond, price out local hotels in your area, showing what a night in a hotel or a respectable motel would have cost your sister had she gone that route instead. If your parents and your brother live in the area as well, include a map of the distance from your sister's place to one of their homes, showing that she could have easily stayed with one of them. Make 5 additional copies of your evidence file, keeping the original in a safe place. Attempt to set up a meeting with your sister and with your extended family if they're in the area. If they agree to meet, present your sister, your parents, and your brother, each with their own copy of your evidence file. Tell them that you don't want to take sister to court, but that you did her a favor, and in exchange, she allowed her child to trash your expensive equipment. You shouldn't have to pay for her mistake. If they, the other adults in the family, want to shoulder the replacement costs between them, then there will be no need for small claims court. If they all expect you to shoulder the costs alone for doing your sister a favor, Tell them that you'll secure a lawyer and add the legal fees and damages for the harassment that they have committed. Their response will be whatever it is, and it might get very ugly. Remain calm and do not raise your voice. Leave if they start being unreasonable. You'll have your answer. If they see the extent of the damage and your sister pays up, or the rest of your family chips in to help, then you'll get your replacements and everything will eventually blow over. If they dig their heels in and start calling you names, then it's time for the lawyer. OP replies, "Hey, thank you so much for this reply. It honestly gave me a lot of clarity in the middle of a really overwhelming situation. As a bit of an update, my sister's husband actually reached out to me privately earlier and said that he wants to figure something out. He didn't know the full extent of what happened, as he suspected that my sister lied to him and he seemed genuinely sorry. That gives me some hope. Part of what's made this so frustrating is that I work as a janitor, part-time too, and I don't make a lot of money. I saved for years to build that setup, and it's not even a year old yet. Seeing it be treated like it's no big deal by my family members, who know how much I struggle, has been honestly disheartening. Your advice about collecting evidence and presenting it calmly is something that I will definitely do. Just knowing I have a game plan and options helps a lot. Thank you." Another thing to consider is that the door was shut. She said she would keep an eye on him, and the sheer amount of time it must have taken him to do all of that damage. He could have been hurt while clambering over the monitors. If that had happened, I'm sure she'd be holding you responsible. Her son got a hold of crackers and put them in the vent slots. So how did he get the crackers? Did your sister give them to him? And if so, why was he wandering around with food unsupervised? What if he choked? All of this sounds like he was unsupervised for a substantial amount of time. That's negligence. Back up to the post. Update. Wow, just wow. 4 hours later, I wake up from my nap to this. Thank you guys. It'll take a bit of time for me to read all of this. My sister has still not unblocked me, but her husband reached out to find out what happened. I'm sorry I don't have more here to tell yet, but I'll update again when I do. Seriously, thanks for the insights, everyone. My head is a lot clearer now. Update 2. Hey all. My sister's husband reached out, as mentioned earlier, and we're working out a solution if possible. He's been really understanding, as have all of you. Also, to clarify on the office situation, my one-bedroom apartment is on the smaller side, 33 meters squared / 355 feet squared, so the landlord converted an old ex-clothes cabinet into a makeshift office. It's weird, but the building is from the 40s, and I guess they had to get creative with the space with an old tenant or something. So it's living room, sister and her kids slept there, plus kitchen, I slept there, plus the office. Thanks for all the support. I really don't have the words for how nice people have been both in DMs and in the comments. To me, this is similar to that ferret incident that I covered the other day. It was OP's ferret, and ultimately, OP should have to cover the damages, whatever that may be. In this case, it is OP's sister's child that caused the damage. She left the kid unsupervised. Seems like the kid was in there for a long time doing a lot of damage unsupervised. So it's entirely up to her to reimburse OP for the damage that her child has caused. The fact that she went and spun this story to the entire family and got all of them to attack OP is truly disgusting, and the fact that none of them said, hey, hold on a minute, let's ask OP what her version of events is and let's get an understanding, not just one person's idea of the situation, I think that tells you about OP's place in the family and how they view her, as opposed to this sister. They weren't even willing to reach out to OP and get the full story. They just believed her at the drop of a hat. Cool family, that one. Really nice family you got there, OP. They sound like stand-up individuals. I don't think you're overreacting at all. I think that you're doing everything within your power that is reasonable. You're trying to find a middle ground. You even offered to do half-half. I don't think you should have even offered that. But you did, and she blocked you for it. What an asshole. I'd be going to small claims court for this one if I were you. If she's not going to relent, see you in court, buddy. And now, on to the update. Hey again. Just wanted to post a quick update since it's been a little under a week, and a few people asked what happened next. Things are better, pretty freaking weird, and still ongoing, but here's where we're at. Last Saturday, my brother-in-law came over to check out the damage himself. He actually brought Max, the toddler, with him, which I was almost livid about at first, but he had a reason. He asked Max to try opening the office/closet door, and the kid couldn't do it. The door was too heavy for him. You can probably guess where this is going. Brother-in-law offered to take my PC to the store that originally built it for me, just to see what was fixable. I agreed, but asked for something in writing just so I had some peace of mind. We put together a little agreement that he'd be responsible for it while it was with him. Yeah, it was just a formality and would not hold much merit anywhere, but it helped me feel a bit more in control. On Monday, he dropped it off at the shop and gave them my number so they could keep me updated. He also told me that he confronted my sister about how things played out. I sent him my original Reddit post too. He read the comments and apparently showed them to her. She still hasn't unblocked me, and from what I've heard, was not happy about the fact that my brother-in-law is actually listening to me. I also shared the post and some comments with my parents and brother, since no one really believed me before. My parents still don't fully get it, but they've at least stopped pushing back. My brother is more understanding now, though for some reason, he mostly wanted to talk about how many people saw the post. I don't think either of those three really still care, and I'm fine if they see this. Do better. Anyway, I went to see the PC today, Wednesday here, and the shop said that it's mostly salvageable. It needs a very, very careful internal clean and a few fans replaced and some wiring fixed, but overall, the main parts survived somehow. Brother-in-law told me he'll cover the cost of repair, no hesitation. When I brought up what my sister said about not being able to pay even $200, he said she's lying. He also said that he's not sure Max actually did all the damage. He thinks the door was left open on purpose, or that my sister might have even done some of it herself. Based on the height of the tower and where the crackers ended up, it didn't quite add up to a toddler acting alone. Apparently she's been telling him that I have a gambling addiction. I did get a bit hooked on Genshin like 4 years ago, I guess, and that maybe this whole thing will wake me up. Which is new. She used to be supportive, or at least indifferent. No idea where that switch came from. So yeah, that's where we're at. My PC is being cleaned up and fixed, and brother-in-law is covering the cost. Sister still has me blocked and won't talk to me. Still tempted to start something with her, to be honest, especially if she actually did all of this on purpose. Still not ruling out small claims court, depending on how things go. Thanks again to everyone who responded to the original post. Seeing how many people understood what happened really helped me hold the line with my family when I felt like I was losing my mind. One thing I've been turning over in my head lately is what if my sister did do something to my setup on purpose? I don't want to believe that. It feels like a stretch, but the more I think about it, the less so, I guess. But then I remember how she acted when I asked her to keep Max out of the office. The eye roll, and the "he's just curious" comments like she didn't take any of it seriously, and now hearing from my brother-in-law that she's been saying I have a crippling gambling, gaming, or whatever addiction, and needed to grow up. It's just weird. She used to be cool about it, never super into games herself, but she got that it was important to me. If something changed, I don't know when or why. And if this was some weird way to make a point or teach me a lesson, that's messed up. You're not our mum. How about talking first instead of this? I don't want to jump to conclusions, but the more I think about it, the less it makes sense that Max could have done all of that alone. It's sick if she blamed her own son for it. So yeah, not accusing anyone outright, but that thought is there now. And if you're my sister reading this, which I'm guessing you are because I bet you'd love to look at the comments that are on your side a lot, I don't know why you blocked me. I don't know what shifted in your head about all of this, but if you actually had anything to do with damaging my setup, whether it was on purpose or just through complete carelessness, fuck you. You know I worked hard for that. You know what that rig meant to me, and you know I would never do something like this to your stuff. And if Max really did all of this on his own, I hope you're paying closer attention now. Not for my sake, but for his. Read the comments on my first post again from other parents and people with younger siblings who clearly know better than you. That's all. Thanks for reading those who did. In the comments, Affectionate T says, I'm really glad things are turning for the better, but what about the other damages, like gaming chair, keyboard, etc.? OP says, my chair is okay. The cushion, legs and back are stained with red permanent marker, but I've learned to live with it. Co-workers and I are trying to find a chemical mix to fix the situation on the cushions, but an ethanol solution, small amounts, I don't want to ruin the chair further, has slowly been working at cleaning the other parts. Being a janitor does have its perks. Keyboard? I couldn't find all the keycaps that were pulled off. I replaced the missing ones with an old keyboard's ones, both mechanical, so it's a bit awkward, but it works for now. I might get custom ones for it if I find some that fit. The cracked monitor, on the other hand, needs to be replaced. I guess calling it cracked was a kindness in itself. Still got the other two left, and at least it wasn't the most expensive one, but yeah. Why aren't you just having your brother-in-law pay for a new keyboard and monitor, or professional cleaning for the chair? That's all part of the repairs. OP replies, we're waiting to see if my sister confesses to anything. If so, she will be paying out of her own pocket and paying back, not my brother-in-law. If she confesses and refuses, then, well, lawyer time. The computer is essential, but the keyboard works, and I still have 2 monitors. That's why I'm willing to wait for the other damage to be solved. Well, interesting that that's where we stand for now. Unfortunately, it looks like even after everything has been cleared up, and you showing your family that, hey, this is all her fault, this is not my fault, I shouldn't have to pay for all of this, your family just doesn't care. They are more than happy to come down on you when they perceive you being in the wrong here, but when you clear your name and you show that she's actually in the wrong, it's that's crazy. Anyway, very interesting dynamic that you have with your family there. I'd be questioning that. And yeah, as you say in this last comment, if she confesses and refuses, then well, lawyer time. Absolutely. There needs to be consequences for her actions. You need to make an example of her. She needs to know that she is not infallible and that she can't get away with this bullshit. I will be a very sad man if it turns out that she gets off the hook for this one, but I trust, given your words, OP, you're gonna take her to the cleaners, as you should, so good luck with it. Am I the asshole for telling my fiancé that I don't want his best man coming to our wedding after what he did at my birthday dinner? So I'm 29 female and my fiancé is 31 male, and we've been together for 4 years. We are planning our wedding for later this year, which has been going great, except for one person. His best friend, Kyle. Kyle's one of those dudes who peaked in high school and is so insufferable. He's always making unnecessary jokes that seem like insults, to be honest. But my fiancé says that he's just goofy and immature, and so I've tried to keep my peace. Anyway, my birthday was 2 weeks ago. Nothing big happened, just a dinner at a nice restaurant with close friends and family. Near the end of it, someone mentioned the wedding and how everything was going, and my fiancé answered and said that we were writing our own vows. I said I was nervous but excited. And then Kyle said loudly, and I think everyone present in the restaurant heard it, that's how loud he was, just don't cry halfway through your vows like you did during your breakup. Remember that? No, Kyle, you can't say that. The table went dead silent. What is wrong with you, Kyle? Kyle, that embarrasses people. In the moment, I laughed it off because I didn't want to create a scene there, but I was humiliated. My dad was present there, and my fiancé was aware of that breakup because it was abusive and traumatic. I later told him how hurt that I was, and he said Kyle was just being Kyle, and you know how he is, babe. No, don't say that. Don't excuse him, please. So I sat on it for a few days, even though I was hurt, but then finally I told him that I don't want Kyle at the wedding. Not at the rehearsal, not giving a speech, nothing. Nowhere, I just don't want him there. Now my fiance is saying that I'm overreacting, that Kyle was just trying to be funny, and that kicking him off the list would destroy our 15 years of friendship. But honestly, if Kyle can't respect me, then why should I allow him to stand next to the man that I am marrying? So am I the asshole for refusing to have Kyle at our wedding after all of this? In the comments, Angel Eternal says, "Not the asshole. I hate when people like this get away with their terrible behavior because their closet people say, oh, that's just how they are. As if you have to tolerate the disrespect because they don't know any better. He can't respect you at a dinner in a restaurant, he won't respect you at your wedding. I'd be afraid he does something he thinks is funny, which would ruin it. Not the asshole. No doubt inviting Kyle will definitely ruin OP's wedding, and it'll be in a way no one expects. So the best solution for OP is to have a serious talk with her fiancé and make him decide what is more important, his wife or a 15-year friendship. Kyle's just being the asshole OP's fiancé allows him to be, which makes me think that he approves of his behavior. Some men won't push their bride's face in the cake, they'll just let their buddy do it. Oh god, nightmare. Insane thing to say, but very true. You best believe Kyle will ruin your wedding. He's a good old-fashioned attention hoe who gets off on being obnoxious. Yeah, I totally get this type of person. So mean, thriving on others' embarrassment and annoyance to make themselves stand out. I'm really curious how OP's fiancé became best friends with someone like that. Fiancé should have put Kyle in his place. Goddamn Kyle. You do realize Kyle isn't the only problematic person here, right? Your fiancé enables his shit and never calls him out on it, so of course Kyle's gonna keep going and going. Immature or not, he is an asshole. Are you sure you really want to marry a man that won't prioritize you over his already peaked immature bestie? Yeah, absolutely. And what's this stuff about the traumatic and abusive break? Are you about to marry somebody who allows their friends to insult you and humiliate you in public with whom you've already had a traumatic breakup? I certainly hope that I'm reading this wrong. Please tell us. He excused that. He genuinely excused that. You're talking about your wedding? You're talking about how you're writing your own vows? You are having a deep and meaningful moment with those around you, and he pipes up loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear to humiliate you and your fiancé, OP. He didn't say anything. He agreed with that. He was okay with Kyle doing that. Please just recognize that and then extrapolate that into the future. What else is he going to be okay with Kyle doing? If he can excuse Kyle and allow this behavior to slide without clamping on it, without publicly forcing Kyle to apologize, putting him in his place, then I don't think that this is a great foundation for you to build in your marriage. This is a friend of 15 years. This is a friend you should be able to be direct with and be like, mate, what you said went so far past the line, you really need to shape up or there's going to be problems. Not, can you just forgive him? We've been friends for 15 years. I don't want to toss that out because I don't want to confront him for this. Like, come on. Are we being for real right now? And now, on to the update. Hey everyone. Thank you for the overwhelming support and comments on my original post. I didn't expect it to blow up, but reading the responses honestly gave me a lot of clarity and strength. So 2 days after I posted my original post, I sat down with my fiancé to clear the air. I told him calmly that I wasn't changing my mind about Kyle, that it wasn't just about one joke, it was about the fact that Kyle has never shown me respect. And then my fiancé understood we had a bigger issue. He got quiet and listened to me, and for the first time I think it really hit him how serious everything was. A day later, Kyle texted me something along the lines of, "Sorry if you were sensitive of—" Oh my god. Don't say that, Kyle! "Sorry if you were upset by me." Go to hell, Kyle. "Sorry if you were sensitive about the joke the other night. Wasn't trying to ruin your birthday, lol." I showed that to my fiancé and he just sighed and said, "That's just how he talks." I am so done with this man. I'm so done. So I said, maybe then Kyle can talk like that from his home because he's not coming to our wedding. And now here's the best part. My fiancé agreed. He wasn't too happy about it, but he said that if it really makes me uncomfortable, then Kyle won't be there. He told that to Kyle, and he threw a whole fit about it. Of course, as usual, called me controlling. And then Kyle's girlfriend texted me yesterday, "I'm honestly glad he's not going, because he's been a nightmare about your wedding ever since you got engaged." So yeah, this exact thing made me realize what I did was absolutely the right thing to do, and that I dodged a bullet. Now about the wedding, it's still on, just with one less toxic guest on the list. Thank you all for giving me the push that I needed to stand my ground. In the comments, Seraphina Dusk says, "Sorry if you were sensitive, is the most I'm not actually sorry apology ever. Kyle gave himself the boot, you just held the door open. Congrats on the upgrade to a peaceful wedding." God, I'd be tempted to write back and say, "Sorry you're a dickhead." His girlfriend's response sums up perfectly why you didn't want him there. You've definitely dodged a bullet. He didn't even apologize and blamed it on you for being sensitive. I'm glad your fiancé has your back. I hope you have a wonderful wedding. I do wonder why he's been a nightmare. OP, any chance he has feelings for you? Or for your fiancé? He might think it's going to give his girlfriend ideas, but I'm sure it's about the fact that he thinks he's losing his friend and is jealous that he doesn't get all his attention anymore. Sorry, I'm just still rubbed the wrong way, as you can tell, by that's just how he talks. I would need to be there to see how he said that and what else he said after the fact, because, again, don't excuse him, don't normalize the behavior. How about, instead of "that's just how he talks," say, "Sorry about him. Looks like he hasn't learned his lesson. I'll go fix this. I agree with you. He's being a see you next Tuesday." But of course, I agree with the comments. Fiancé has done the respectable thing. He's shown Kyle the door. Kyle's had a hissy fit. He can go shove it where the sun don't shine. Major respect for your fiancé for finally doing something about this petulant man-child. If Kyle continues this behavior, which I assume he just might, I don't see Kyle being in your future, personally. It really feels like Kyle is forcing himself out of this friendship that he's built over the last 15 years. Thanks for this story, OP. Love that. Love the drama. Please bring us some more in the future. Our next post is by user What's Happening, titled, "Really weird things are happening to me. I'm not sure if it's an elaborate prank or if I'm seriously mentally ill." Okay. I've never ever felt the need to post here, but I feel like I'm losing my mind. I don't even know where to start. My mind is so jumbled, and I guess it started 2 weeks ago at work. I work in a factory, but I don't do the labor. I'm more of a spreadsheet maker / book balancer / secretary type thing. Really informal, but it's my uncle's company and I needed a job, yada yada, good pay. I was sitting at my desk with nothing to do, and I hear my boss, not my uncle, just another coworker and a friend of his, go, Phil sighs as he looks at the weather. I look up like, huh? And he looks at me like, huh? He didn't say anything. And I was like, that's weird. But oh well, anyway. And then the next day, I was talking to some coworkers on the floor, asking them work stuff, and one of them calls me a bitch, but when I called him out, him and everyone else looked at me like I was insane. I apologized, and we all laughed it off. Factory is loud, right? People mishear things all the time. Except, I was at Walmart. I know, class. And one of the workers there was putting away stock, and I swear to God, he looked straight at me and said, "The chicken was just killed." But I asked him what he meant, and I felt so bad, because he looked at me so confused and like I was crazy. He hadn't even opened his mouth apparently. Shit like this has been happening so much. My friend even pulled me aside to ask if I was feeling okay. Small things are happening too. My boyfriend said he's making salmon for dinner. I hear him preparing salmon, I smell salmon, then he brings it out and it's lasagna. I ask him where the salmon was and he was like, "What?" I said lasagna tonight. And he brushed it off like I'm being silly. I could have sworn this one shirt that I owned was green and not teal. Shit is changing and people are saying stuff but they're not. People are narrating their lives sometimes. There's no way my friends could be pranking me, not when random people on the street are doing this too. I'm so scared, I don't want to be thrown in a mental hospital. I'm not trying to offend mentally ill people, I'm so scared. I feel like my mind is slowly melting. In the comments, Grazmat says, you should go to the doctor. Not just because there might be a physical or mental issue going on that needs to be addressed, but also you can get an answer of what's going on. Don't keep yourself in limbo, that will drive you insane. Doctors are not your enemy, and even if there is a mental issue going on, that doesn't automatically mean that you get thrown into a mental hospital just like that. You've probably been around more people with mental disorders than you realize, and the vast majority of them can live a relatively normal life and live independently with some medical and/or psychiatric help. Go to the doctor. They are the professionals here. OP replies, thank you. I'm in Canada, and I made an appointment with my doctor. It'll be a week before I see her though. I can't believe how much this blew up. It happened again last night. Boyfriend said that he was going to the bar. I shower and come out and ask why he is still there, and he says, because I live here? Oh, I thought you were going to the bar. No? Maybe I'll go to the ER if it keeps happening. Not to terrify OP, but this has happened to my mother as well, and it was a brain tumor for her. This seriously calls for a doctor as soon as possible. Yup, it sounds pretty similar to a friend. Go get it checked. It's scary, but my friend, she's doing a whole lot better now. If you've been following my commentary over the last few days, you'll know it's probably a brain tumor. I saw a comment that said Marky's in his brain tumor arc. And you know what? You're right. Maybe everyone's bad behavior can be explained by brain tumors, much like OP's right here. It's not bad behavior on her behalf this time, surprisingly. It's more just very concerning, confusing behavior where people keep talking to her. It could be schizophrenia just suddenly developing as well. You know, my mom always said to me, she's like, I don't think you should ever do marijuana because, you know, what if you trigger schizophrenia or bipolar when you start smoking weed, mate? There's always a chance. And I mean, it didn't stop me, but it definitely gave me pause. And I'm just putting myself in OP's shoes here, because what if I was like, yeah, Mom, that'd be so crazy. And then my mom said to me, she's like, I didn't say anything. What's wrong with you? Because, yeah, if that actually had happened in the moment, I'd see where OP's coming from, and I'd probably have to go check myself into the emergency department as well. Otherwise, I hope that OP gets her brain tumor sorted out, because that's the only logical explanation here, apparently. And now, onto the updates. Wow. Wow. I never could have ever, in my wildest imagination that was my last post, think that it would get this much attention. I was on my boyfriend's Reddit account on his phone and actually saw my own post near the front page. I was floored. And then he saw what I was looking at, and we had a pretty awkward conversation. Basically, he asked me why I posted something like that. He had read it, but only when he saw me on the page it clicked that he saw the same username on my laptop on Reddit. He never imagined that it was me. I did change some details about my life in the last post. So we talked for a long time, and finally he said that he was taking me to the emergency department. I didn't want to go, I just wanted to wait for my appointment. Not because I didn't think that it was serious, but because I had no clue how to explain what was happening to the doctors and nurses, especially for it to warrant an emergency visit. So we went, and he was very understanding. He just asked me how much I remembered from the past couple of days, stuff he's said, and stuff I had apparently heard. We were both scared. I got to the emergency department, and it was very slow. I live in a smallish town, but we have a giant hospital for some reason. We're close to a lot of other towns, and they use our hospital. Close to Toronto too, but anyway, it was slow. Just one father and a sick child. I went in and basically had to explain what was happening, and honestly, the nurses were like, what the hell? This bitch is crazy. But when I saw a doctor, he took me very, very seriously. It was very nice. He wrote down basically everything I said. I got some x-rays, and they asked me questions. You know the whole spiel. Anyway, the point of this update was to tell you guys that I have a tumor. That's really scary writing out, but I do have a tumor in my brain. It hasn't sunken in yet that tomorrow my brain is going to be under the knife. I don't want to share more because I've gotten a lot of messages from people who were like, guessing my name and where I'm from. Apparently I remind people of their friends or crazy exes. I'm scared to miss work, but my boss was more than understanding. He sort of looked at me like I was insane when I asked how long I should be out of work. I don't know. I need to pay rent. We'll figure it out. Thank you all for your love and support. I will update whenever I remember to. I am scared, but alive. In the comments, Electric Body says, "Oh God, I am so glad that you went to the ER, OP. But so sorry to hear of the diagnosis. I can't imagine how scared you must be. I hope that you make a fast recovery from your surgery tomorrow and that everything goes well. Lots of love your way. Also the right move for a lifelong significant other. We're not waiting, we're going now." Great news. No, really, that's coming from someone who also had some weird shit going on that turned out to be caused by a tumor. You'll have a headache for a couple of weeks after, and you're going to look ridiculous for a while. You might have the choice to have them only shave off a patch of hair, or all of it. Opt for the latter. It takes more getting used to, but at least you won't have a patch of hair that's shorter than all the rest. I wore a curly, bright green clown wig and looked super fly. You'll be fine. And now on to the latest update, 10 years later. Am I allowed to make an update here? I don't use social media much anymore, and Reddit looks completely different than the last time I logged in. My friend sent me this, basically immediately after it was posted, asking if it was me. It was so long ago. I kinda cringe seeing how I wrote, but I'll give myself some flack because I was young and going through a terrible time. That boyfriend didn't last long. He bailed when he found out how long my recovery would be and what it entailed. Oh no, so much for the lifelong significant other part. Oh, we're not going anywhere, we're going now. Also, I'm leaving. Oh no. I moved back in with my family, who are all nurses and caregivers, so it was really the smoothest recovery I could have had. I did years of therapy, both physical and mental. I did eventually end up losing my factory job, but that honestly wasn't their fault. Admittedly, I no-showed to work a lot and was spiraling for a few years, but I eventually landed on my feet, found my dream man, lumberjack type, sorry for being a Canadian stereotype, and his mother had gone through almost the same thing I did when she was younger, so we really bonded over that. I won't say I'm having a perfect time. Life is life, I'm child-free, have a job that I tolerate, have money to spend on my friends and family, and am generally very happy. I keep off social media because I already survived a brain tumor. I'm not looking for more. And for Americans who are going to ask, yes, it was free. In the comments, Tabula Nada says, "Oh wow, welcome back. I think we're all very excited to get to have an update because usually these older ones never get any follow-up. And a good update. Glad you were doing better now with a comfortable little life." OP replies, "Thank you. It makes me laugh going back and reading through the threads. Like, yeah, girl, it's obviously a tumor." That's what I'm saying. Guys, I'm pretty sure I keep switching with my alternate dimension self for a couple seconds at a time. This is so crazy, right? You have a tumor. Glad to hear that you're plugging along doing your thing. Life has ups and downs, but I'm happy to hear that you're still with us. As for your dream man, he's a lumberjack and he's okay. Does he sleep all night and he work all day? And OP says, "He's more than okay, trust me. I completely believe that he is the best man that anyone could ever have. I got insanely lucky after a string of terrible exes." And I'm glad to hear that OP is alive and thriving because that still sounds like a genuinely terrifying thing to live through. And then to go through years of spiraling afterwards, It's amazing that she had her family around her that could care for her and understand what she's going through. She is so incredibly lucky to have had a family of nurses and caregivers that also are willing to go out of their way to look after her. I really do hope that there were no Reddit-worthy stories during that time that she was struggling and spiraling, that she burnt bridges with some of those people who were caring for her. I'm also glad that she came back and shared that final update with us. It warms my heart. It truly does warm my heart to see such a lovely ending to all of this when there was so much wrong going on at the start. Thank you for the story, OP. Very much appreciated. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "My husband lied to me about cross-dressing and about cheating on me. This started when I found women's clothing that weren't mine, and at that time, I thought that my husband David was cheating. I confronted David, and the explanation was that it wasn't an affair, but cross-dressing. David had photos to back that up, and said that it wasn't a sexual thing or something to do in public. David said sorry for hiding it. Fear of my rejection was what led to it. I honestly wasn't bothered by David wanting to cross-dress in private sometimes. I offered to buy clothes or makeup or give advice on dressing like a woman. I can honestly say I didn't care and was not upset. But I found out that David lied about it not being sexual or something done in public because there have been meetups with other women and men to have sex while cross-dressing. David's excuse after I found out about the lie was not wanting to subject me to it, and that even after I found out and was supportive, it would have been too degrading and disrespectful to me. Oh God. David was not sure about sexual orientation or gender identity when I asked, but admits to meeting at least 36 other men and women for sex since the cross-dressing started. Even after I was supportive and said I would be okay with sex during it, David decided that it would be too disrespectful and degrading to me and kept meeting other people. I've had to go and get tested because David didn't use protection while having sex with any of these strangers. Mostly, I am effing heartbroken that David went behind my back, lied even after I was supportive, and is now trying to act like it's a mystery as to why I'm filing for divorce. We were trying to conceive, and all this was going on too. I feel heartbroken and sick. I love David, but there is no way that our marriage survives. I never thought that I would ever be divorced, but I guess everyone thinks it'll never happen to them. I haven't told anyone why yet. I'm going to, but until then, you all get to be the first." In the comments, Golden Diamond Child says, "David needs a..." Never mind, OP. Leave him. David is a manipulative liar who thinks having sex with other people because he's too nervous around you makes him seem better. David lied twice, and not only did you have to catch him, but he lied. Had you not found those clothes, you would have never known, and you could have ended up with an STD that could have killed you years later because he didn't think to tell you that he was having sex with strangers instead of his own wife, which he lied to because he was oh so nervous, and instead of telling you the entire truth the first time, he acted on compulsive lying behavior and kept it all from you until you finally got the truth out of him. Divorce. Good luck, OP. And Save the Dance says, "He cheated and put your health at risk. This has nothing to do with kinks or sexuality. He is a predator who knowingly subjected you to disease. I'm so proud of you for leaving. People like this get a kick out of the risks associated with unprotected sex. Please don't back down, and please leave this situation. You sound like a very strong and understanding woman and will definitely have a much brighter future ahead of you." I am shocked that he admitted to having sex with more than 36 people. That is nasty work. That is absolute bottom feeder material right there. I really do feel like we need some stronger recourse than just divorce. There's gotta be something out there. There's gotta be punishment for his actions, for exposing you to that. That is so depraved. So insanely, genuinely depraved of him to do that. And what is he talking about? It would be too disrespectful and degrading to me, so he just kept seeing other people. What? Oh, you're saying it would be too disrespectful and degrading if you told your wife that you were sleeping with other people, so that's the reason that you kept it secret? Nah, we gotta test if this guy has a brain tumor. I am so serious. I hate him so much. What a disgusting pig. And now, onto the update. It's been a while, and the last 2+ years have been hell, but it's finally over, or at least I hope. In my first post, I talked about finding out that my spouse, David, enjoyed dressing in women's clothes. When I found out the clothes weren't mine, I thought I was being cheated on. David said I was wrong, and it was something enjoyable done in private, not in public. I honestly wasn't bothered by David wearing women's clothes at home, but I found out that David lied and had cheated on me with both men and women. David said what happened with those people was too degrading to involve me because I was too good. It ripped me apart. I couldn't stay after finding out David had cheated with so many people and couldn't even remember how many there were. At first, when everyone found out David cheated on me so many times, I had lots of support. When David started living full-time as a woman and started seeing a therapist to have to deal with having to hide that, a lot of the support dried up. You really find out who your friends are when something like this happens. 12 years of knowing David was a lie. I got lots of heat for not supporting David and for leaving. It hurt, but the upside is that I know who my true family and friends are, even if most people supported David over me. I filed for divorce in December of 2022, and it was finalized 6 days ago because David didn't want a divorce and tried to stop it, while still seeing other people. It was finalized 6 days ago, a day after our anniversary. I'm over it now. I moved away from Vancouver, and I have a new job and know who my real family and friends are. There were so many nice comments on my last post, which I appreciated so much. In the comments, Random Dude says, "My God, a divorce proceeding taking 2 years despite proof of ongoing infidelity is a nightmare. How the hell can it take so long? This is a genuine question. I live in only one of the 2 countries where divorce is illegal, so I have zero clue how it goes. I am married according to Canadian laws. So, for divorce, even if infidelity is involved, you need to stay in separate households for a year before divorce proceedings can go ahead. Plus, the admin system here is quite slow, I think." Bucolic Hand says, "Man, my heart breaks for OP. That has got to be so hard to go through. I appreciate trying to be sensitive about the experiences of people who struggle to come to terms with their gender or sexuality, but it can be so easy to fail to support the people that get hurt or left behind in the process. There's so much grieving to do in a position like that. It's sad that she'd have to do it alone. There's so much to unpack about OP's ex's psychology that goes beyond gender dysphoria though. Justifies cheating with strangers because having sex with wife while dressed as a woman would be degrading to her? Major Madonna/whore complex going on there. So unfair that OP's friends turned on her when they found out about ex's transition, as if the issue was her lack of support and not the ex's choice to block her from being supportive by going off to explore his gender identity on their own instead of with their wife." Oh, so that's what it meant. That he couldn't have sex with her. Okay, I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together before. Blame the brain tumor, guys. I'm sorry. This is just such a sad situation. Honestly, shame on the friends for, attacking OP once they found out about the transition. I don't get it. I don't get how they could have their minds changed enough that they would turn on her when she has evidence that he has cheated on her with 3 dozen people. She has his word to say for it. It's not even a he said, she said situation because she has evidence that he literally said that. Are there people so brain broken that a transition is all that it takes for them to say, you know what? I can forgive the cheating and infidelity. But not being supportive of the transition, which to me, it doesn't seem like OP had anything against the transition. It's not like there was a lack of support solely because of the transition. That's where I draw the line. How dare you not support them in the transition? At that point, good riddance. It's for the best that you don't have friends like that in your life if they are going to turn on you for the stupidest reasons. Shame on them. And shame on your ex for cheating and dragging on the divorce for such a long time. It seems to me like the world has a shortage of shame. We need to bring that back. Anyway, thank you for the update. Thank you for the story, OP. Genuinely hope that your life gets better after all of this. Am I the asshole for not trusting my mother-in-law to babysit? I have a 1-year-old and another on the way, and my fiancé wonders why his mum is never allowed to watch our 1-year-old. When my child was 2 months old, I went to the bathroom and let my mother-in-law have my child, and I come back to see my 2-year-old nephew putting his visibly dirty hands on my child's face. She came home and 3 days later took her to the doctor because her eye was looking funny. She had pink eye. She was 2 months old. When our child was 4 months old, mother-in-law was allowed to watch her for a few hours, so fiancé and I could get lunch together. It was about 65 out that day, so my child was dressed in some thinner footy pajamas, and we come back home 2 hours later, it's still about 65 and cloudy, and my child is in a tank top romper outside, being held by some random family friend that my fiancé has met twice. Another time, we were at a wedding, my child was about 7 to 8 months old, and mother-in-law was given my child by my fiancé. I come over to see my child, chewing on a ball from the pool table that was in the basement of the wedding venue. Most recently, my child was in the ICU for some respiratory distress, and mother-in-law wanted to visit, so I said okay. You know, it's a hospital, like, what's she gonna do? My child started walking around and getting wheezy and breathing hard, so I tell fiancé to have her lay down because she's struggling to breathe. Mother-in-law looks at me and goes, "Calm down, Mum, she's fine." Her O2 stat had dropped to 87 when she was walking around. She has also pressured my fiancé and I from the beginning to make rice bottles to make our child sleep through the night so she stops waking up to eat because she doesn't need it. My child sleeps through the night now and doesn't need any of that jazz. I've told fiancé about these instances as the reason why mother-in-law shouldn't be able to watch said child or any future children until they are much older, and he doesn't agree with me. In the comments, Own Repair says, "Not the arsehole. Girl, that ain't overprotective, that's straight up common sense. She had too many chances and still wildin'." OP says, "Okay, I thought I was crazy, but like, that's the stuff she does in a short period of time, and like, even my parents don't do things like that? You aren't crazy. Your mother-in-law is incredibly irresponsible. The ICU piece alone would have me putting serious distance. The rest of it is window dressing to the ICU incident. You're a mother protecting your child from someone who treats red flags like party decorations. Ignoring pink eye, weather, choking hazards, and dropping oxygen levels isn't forgetful, it's reckless. Yeah, that O2 stat is dangerously low. I have COPD, and mine is never this bad." OP says, "They told us that my daughter has reactive airway disease, and she was in the ICU for rhinovirus as well." Shadow Summer replies, "I'm sorry she was in ICU. That's really scary for a parent." OP says, "I stayed every single night there with her. I only left the hospital to go home and shower once. The nurses were amazing, and my daughter had one nurse that she would play with through the window. We've been home for about 4 days now, and she's doing great. She's as happy as can be." You have set boundaries in the past. She has constantly ignored those boundaries. You are well within your right not to trust her to babysit anymore. She is going to give your child a disease that is going to seriously harm her, if not kill her. Do you really want to take those chances, knowing that your mother-in-law doesn't care and will continue to step all over those boundaries? At the end of the day, it's about the safety of your child and keeping your child alive, happy, and healthy. If she can't and won't respect that, she deserves no place in your child's life in a caring capacity. She can have her own version of supervised visitation, but definitely no solo caring. That is not a good idea. Not the asshole. And now, onto the update. Spoke to my fiancé about my previous post, and he actually agreed with me and the overwhelming support that I got from everyone on here, and he said that he won't ask her to ever babysit, and contact will be through holidays and family events, and he won't tolerate any slander, including her telling me to calm down. He also informed me that after the pink eye incident and the clothing one, that he spoke to her and told her that his nephew is not allowed to touch her face, and that just because something is placed in a diaper bag doesn't mean that it's warm enough for her to wear it outside, and I spoke to her about the pool balls and ripped her a new one when it happened. So thank you everyone for your comments. And that's the response. That's what you do. I'm glad your fiancé agreed. I'm glad he has a spine and he's not a mama's boy like we see so often on these subreddits. Look at him go. He won't tolerate slander. That to me is a genuinely impressive thing, even though it appears to be the bare minimum. Absolutely, he should have ripped her a new one when it happened, and he should rip her a new one in the future if she tries to boundary stomp again. Let her know her actions have consequences. Thank you for taking the advice, OP, and thank you for the story. Our next post is by user FewHunter2043, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for snapping at my mother when she asked when I would finally kick out my daughter? I, 66 female, am retired, but am kept very busy by caring for my mother, 85 female, and my disabled husband, 64 male. My mother does not live with us. She lives in an assisted living facility where I visit her every few days to check up on her and see if she needs anything. During my latest visit, she brought up how I should finally kick out my daughter, 29 female, let's call her C. Now for some context, yes, my daughter does indeed still live with me and my husband for many factors, including her rather fragile mental health. But what my mother does not understand is that despite us being parent and child, we are not living in a parent and child kind of situation. We are roommates that also just happen to be family. Because neither her nor my husband and I could afford places of our own in this economy. We are dependent on C just as much as she is dependent on us. Claire holds down a full-time job, which doesn't pay great, but not awfully either. She pays her fair share in rent, utilities, and groceries, does her fair share of chores, and sometimes even takes over some of my chores when she feels that I need a break. I cook on weekdays when Claire has to work, but Claire has weekends off, so she takes over cooking duties then. She has a savings account for emergencies. She pays for the family Netflix account, and she even spends some of the fun money that she has left over every other month, which isn't much, on little treats for my husband and I, no matter how often I ask her not to waste what little money she has to enjoy life on us. So with all of that background, my mother's comments made me pretty angry, because Claire does so much to not be a burden to my husband and me, despite me telling her that I love her and could never see her as a burden. I also fear my mother may have planted that thought in her head when I wasn't around. Meanwhile, all my mother seems to do is demand, demand, demand. She has nurses at her disposal at that assisted living facility and people who do grocery runs for her, but she never uses these services and demands that I do everything for her instead. She demands all of my time, energy, and attention. I suspect she may want to push me to kick Claire out so she could move in with my husband and I and force me to be her full-time caretaker. I was already having a shitty day, so I just snapped and told her that Claire's living situation is none of her damn business. She started crying and asked why I would yell at her for being concerned. So Reddit, am I the asshole for snapping at my mother? In the comments, not the asshole. Parents of any age love to judge their kids living in financial situations, even when they don't have all the information. The economy is in the shitter, and I think it's nice that your daughter is staying at home and helping you out. Does your mum know about the financial situation? Do you want her to know? Maybe it's time for some tough love. Lower your visitations? Even if she's your mother, you don't owe her anything. Family does not have the right to ruin your peace. OP says, my mum knows about our financial situation, but she thinks that's no excuse. Someone else asks, does your mother's pay include the grocery or nursery services, or are they extra? If inclusive, ask her why she's wasting your time and her money by not using the services she is paid for. Doing that will help you a lot more than stopping supporting your daughter, even if she was dependent, which she is not. If she's concerned about your workload, she has that in her power to help, but emphasize you'll still be around to see her. OP says, "These services are included in my mother's rent, but she refuses to use them because the shoppers always get the wrong items. She's very particular about what companies she wants to get her food from, and she's afraid that the nurses will rifle through her belongings and steal anything of value that she has." On Mum wanting to move in with OP says, "Yes, that's my suspicion as well. I'm still trying to figure out a slightly kinder way to say, I'd rather pull out my own fingernails than let you move in with me, even if C eventually moves out." On OP's husband, OP says, "My husband isn't Claire's father. I would even hesitate calling him her stepfather. I met him when she was 23 and married him when she was 26, so he came into her life a bit late to be a paternal figure. When they talked about it prior to us getting married, Claire told him that while he may have come into her life too late to be her father, in her eyes, there's no such thing as coming into somebody's life too late to be family. So while she doesn't see him as a father figure, she does see him as family, and they have a great relationship with inside jokes even I don't understand at times." That's actually the first time I've heard something like that, You can never come in my life too late to be family. That is genuinely so sweet. I love that so much. And fair enough too. He married into the family. He is family. If they have a great relationship, then the more the merrier. Let 1,000 blossoms bloom as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, OP's mum is 85 years old. She is refusing to use those services, and OP is capitulating. She is kowtowing. She is allowing herself to be walked over. And I don't think that she should allow this to continue any longer. Her mum can whine and complain all she wants and try to weasel herself back into OP's house. But yeah, OP knows that's a terrible idea. OP for sure knows that she's doing a bit of a balancing act right now. And eventually, that balancing act has to finish, I feel like. Because it either ends in her moving into your house and your life becoming a living hell, or her throwing a huge tantrum, not getting her way, and just exploding at OP. I don't see any other situation that happens here. Though unfortunately the best option is to allow that to happen, to tell her to start using her services, stop wasting your time, stop wasting her money, and just accept that people make mistakes when they get the wrong items, and that no, the nurses are not going to steal your valuables, and that if you keep pushing me and attacking me and my daughter, you're not going to get what you want. Life ain't sunshine and rainbows, Miss 85-year-old woman. You, of all people, should know that by now. You have all the experience in the world. We, unfortunately, don't always get what we want. And now, onto the update. Hello, everyone. First, I'd like to thank you all for your incredibly kind words and helpful advice. Yesterday, I sat with my daughter for our Easter tradition of getting together as a family and eating a big batch of grandmother's pickled eggs. And while we ate and made a huge mess, which, if my grandma was to be believed, is essential to the eggs' taste, I reminded Claire that I love her and that she will always be welcome with my husband and me. She seemed a bit confused by it suddenly coming up, but thanked me and told me that she loved me too. When I asked if she had spoken to her grandmother lately, she said no, she hadn't spoken to my mother since my birthday. Today, I drove to visit my mother again and have a talk about what happened, and it went surprisingly well. I started out by apologizing for snapping at her like that. Regardless of my mental state, I should not have gone on the attack like that, and I am truly sorry. I, sadly, am the type to bottle up my feelings instead of communicating them immediately, and it's something that I know I need to work on. However, I also told my mother that I'm not willing to talk about Claire's living situation with her, and asked her to use the facility's services a bit more in the future, instead of always relying on me, because I have a life of my own and a husband who also needs me, probably more than she does, but I didn't say that part out loud. She started crying again, asking why Claire and I hate her so much. She talked about how Claire never calls and only seems to acknowledge her existence when she absolutely has to, and has now also turned me against her. She asked if I was really so sure that Claire wouldn't eventually start ignoring me the way that she is ignoring her. I was getting very impatient with her again, but I was prepared for it this time, and managed to stay calm and ask her to think back to her interactions with Claire over the past 5 years, and the many moments of her being rude or just downright cruel to Claire. I even named some specific instances that Claire has told me about, and to put herself in Claire's shoes. Would she want to spend any time with someone who treated her like that? I felt ridiculous talking to my 85-year-old mother like she's a 5-year-old child, but when I told her that we love her, but at times we don't feel particularly loved by her, it seemed to actually get through to her. She stopped crying and told me that she didn't realize that her comments hurt my daughter so badly. In my mother's defense, Claire, like me, has the habit of bottling up her feelings in the moment and disengaging instead of communicating, unless she feels she can 100% predict the other person's reaction, so she most likely never told my mother that these comments hurt her and just started distancing herself. My mother promised to use the facility services more and, in turn, asked me if we could go out and do something fun every now and then. Her definition of fun is usually going to the casino with a very strictly enforced budget, so we'll see about that. It doesn't sound terrible for some mother-daughter bonding time. What is it about the older generations and, casinos? I know my generation's starting to get a gambling habit here in Australia of all places, but I'm always hearing about the oldies in casinos, and that's the only thing they do in their downtime apparently. I'm not sure how things will develop now, but I'm hopeful. I will tell Claire what her grandmother and I talked about today and see if she's maybe willing to give her the chance to make amends. I won't push her though. Thank you again for all the helpful advice and encouragement. In the comments, Quicksilver says, of course she was upset the granddaughter she was being cruel with does not visit or call her. Who would have guessed? Granny is from the generation where respect for elders was a given. OP is from a generation molded by that. Respect, however, is earned. Grandma has no grounds to complain that she doesn't like reaping what she has sowed. Granny is claiming that. My grandparents are her age and are so different. You are polite to elders, but it doesn't mean automatic respect. My great-grandma was over 100, born in the 1910s. Exceptionally polite, but took no shit. My experience, she's using it as an excuse. I wonder why OP has a tendency to not react in mildly negative ways to situations, since her mother is always so reasonable and all. Sarcasm. I'm becoming a pretty big fan of generally refusing to discuss certain things with my parents, who are generally fine parents, but we have some significantly different values and approaches that I'm just done discussing. I refuse to discuss my or my spouse's income with my mum. When she asks, I go, I don't know, and then say that she raised me, that it was rude to ask people their age or income. Hey mum, what's your income after your very budget-friendly casino trips? I would love to know about that. Please tell me how much you have budgeted for all of your casino trips. And then come and judge me for my income and my inability to slap the pokies on a Friday night, okay? This is just yet another instance where you treat your family like shit, they don't call you, and they will never come and see you in the nursing home because why would they? And then all the nurses will come to Reddit and be like, you can just spot from a mile away the ones that actually treat their family with love and respect because they have their whole community coming to visit them every day. And then you have these old windbags rotting away in the corner because they treated everyone like they were beneath them. And those people are questioning why no one ever comes and sees them. Well, that's exactly what's happening to Granny here. I know I'm attacking her. Sorry about that. I got a bit of rage in my heart from that story. But honestly, come on, you're 85 years old. You should know that your actions have consequences. You should know that if you treat your granddaughter like shit all the time, she's not going to want to spend time with you. Does she need to come spell it out to you and say, hey, Granny, the way that you treat me, the way you talk towards me hurts my feelings, and you should know that, but for some reason you're not putting two and two together in this instance, so I'm going to have to talk to you like a 5-year-old child as well? Why does it have to be OP bridging that gap? She has a brain. She can put that together. I'm so sick of these people, man. I get why OP is so patient with her and then is not patient with her, but seriously, she knows better. She has to.